All right, welcome in, sports fans, for the second season of Black Dolphins Pokemon League. We're going to be doing PRs again, just like we did last season. I'm looking forward to this season. We've got 16 good coaches with 16 interesting teams, and with me today we've got one of the commissioners for the league, Gio, with us, and a few of the Black Dolphins on standby as well to give us some opinions.
Hello. Gio here, commissioner of the Black Dolphins, as Duke introduced.
So, what do you think? Just like as an overall, how are you feeling for this season so far?
I feel great. I think, with the Champions Megas, we got a lot of variety. I think we got a lot of strong coaches this season. Streets were saying that our tiering was a little wonky, but, as we continue to go on in season 2, season 3, keep going forward, I think we'll start to iron that out a little more.
Hey, to be fair, and this is a disclaimer for everything, these are just our opinions, and these are just opinions based on the teams themselves, not on the skills of the players. So if you've got something, if you feel like we're wrong, sucks to suck, that's our opinion. Show that you're a better player.
Definitely. Before we get started, I do want to say I personally do not think there is a single bad team. I think every team that all of our coaches drafted, they did an excellent job. So if you're in one of the bottom placements, please don't take offense to that. It's just some teams are a little bit stronger, or we have more positive opinions on them. And like Duke said, play good. Show us that we were wrong.
All right. So with that out of the way, let's get into our first one today. We're gonna go down each of the pods. So we've got 4 pods: Pacific, Atlantic, Freshwater, and Coastal, in 2 divisions of the Deep and the Shallows. We're gonna start with our Pacific division, starting with the Houston Comets. So we're actually starting with your team, Gio.
Wonderful.
Let's see what we got. All right.
Wow. Nice transition there, dude.
Thank you. Some leftovers from my streaming days. All right, but we're getting right into this team. I think this is a great team to start off with because obviously for the Black Dolphins, having Palafin on the very first team that we showcase, it feels right,
Absolutely.
But looking over this team, personally, I don't like it because you got that Darkrai that's got that Ice Beam that might be a problem for me later on, but we'll get to that. Honestly, I do like this team. It's got a very solid speed tier. It's got decent attackers on both sides. Some of your budget picks are a little interesting for me. But I'm curious to see how you're going to use them, like Lycanroc and Crawdon.
Yeah, definitely. I guess this is nice way I can kind of give some of my insights what I had when drafting the team. Umbra, one of our other coaches, actually put myself number 1 in her power rankings, and I appreciate that, but I can't say I agree. I definitely like my team, but I think this is one of the least confident I've been in a team that I've drafted. I did have to draft Palafin. I had contractual obligations for that. And I do think I do a good job with speed tiers and diversity and what a lot of Pokemon can bring. I'm not locked into one set for any of these mons. They all have very deep move pools. The biggest thing that I found is that the Pokemon I drafted, they have a very high skill ceiling, but kind of a low skill floor, because of the conditions for Palafin, Clefable having such a large move pool, even Pokemon like Deoxys, having to lock in what 4 moves he has because he also has such a large move pool. I think the team I drafted has really great priority, solid bulk, but I think I may struggle to have, win conditions outside of Palafin. For the Crawdon point that you brought up, Crawdon is there mainly just to double up for Darkrai and Palafin, so that way I can break, Palafin's checks and Darkrai's checks, because, Crawdon is a very strong man. Mr. Craw is.
Yeah, that was my biggest thing with seeing Crawdon here, is you had Darkrai and you had Palafin, so picking up a Water Dark type on top of that felt a little much. My thing though is like what I'm really interested about is like this is a decent team with some great defensive options. The thing is, Iron Treads is a bit more of a defensive option. Rotom Heat, Dragalg, and DOD. You don't really have a lot in the way of recovery. Like, you've got Wish with Mega Clefable, but if you're running Wish on Mega Clefable, I'm a little bit worried for you. Because I feel like Mega Clefable's not going to be wanting to play Wish support. Like, it can. Like, don't get me wrong, 95 base HP is a decent Wish user. And it's got the baton pass to be able to, just go full Wish pass. I just wonder how often you're going to be using that specifically, and if you are using that specifically, if it's going to detract from your potential to bring pressure.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
I do think Mega Clefable is going to be a decent part of your offense here, because the Darkrai is fine. The Iron Treads, like I don't see the Iron Treads being overly offensive. It's got a decent, base attack, but I don't think that's why you're gonna be bringing it most days. I could be wrong, but I think your main offense here is gonna be looking at, Palafin, Darkrai, Mega Clefable. So taking away one of your big main attackers and turning it into a Wish passer might be problematic, but who knows? There might be a week where it actually comes in really handy.
No, yeah, definitely there's some longevity concerns outside of Deoxys and Clefable. I guess that's our takes on the Houston comments. We'll open up the floor to any of our other Dolphins in the audience. Anybody have anything they'd like to share? Any points they'd like to make?
I only have a question. Is Mega Clefable's ability really prankster? Wasn't it Magikarp or something?
It is Magic Bounce.
Yeah, it's Magic Bounce. The doc that I'm using hasn't updated that, apparently. So, I mean, the Magic Bounce does give decent anti-rocks potential, but you already had a strong spinner in Iron Treads anyway, so I wouldn't really be terribly worried about that. It's going to bring extra value for sure, but it's not going to be a reliance, I don't think.
I actually disagree with you, Duke. I think Crawdon's a good pick here. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think, I get what you, I agree with some of the points you made, but one thing that's nice about Crawdon is you don't need to switch it out to then switch it back in to use it. So you've got immediate pressure with Crawdon, which Palafin can't give. So it does have a niche that way. So I think it's actually decently valuable for its price range for this team to like Gio said, just break some of the darks and the water, the dark and water checks that Darkrai and Palafin don't like.
That's fair. I can see the value in that. All right. So moving on, our next.
Do we want to place it in our tier list?
So how I had things set up, and I'll do a quick little shift over so you can see it. Is I got all set up for us at the very end. We'll go through and we'll place all of. Wait, you can't see that.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh yeah, you can. I've got this set up so we can just take all of the icons, just bam, bam, bam. So we'll go through, share our discussions. That way we can get our mindsets right, and then at the very end we'll go through and we'll actually do the actual rank.
Beautiful. Anybody else have anything, or we good to move on?
All right. So after the Houston Comets, we've got the Elgato Outpost Neuverns run by Naukol. And honestly, I really like this team. I love this team. I think this team is fantastic. It's got some great offense on the high end with Mega Greninja, Celesteela, Enamorus. The Iron Hands is always amazing. But I love the tricks that this team has with the Zoroark, the Kricketune, the surprise power you're going to be able to pull around with the Nidoking. I think that this team has a lot of craftiness behind it, and I am here for it.
I figured this would be a team that you liked. The Zoroark, Nidoking, those seem like very Duke-coded Pokemon.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah. I'm actually a little lower on this team, Got a lot of love for Knackle. And, I had him being in the pod with her, helped her draft this team. I do think there are some concerns. I think it is a very strong team. Mega Greninja is amazing. Celesteela and Zoroark have a lot of tricks in their bag, like you were saying. And then Hands and Nidoking can definitely pull their own weight. The problems I had with the team was that I think that she might have a hard time with hazards. Serena is kind of the only hazard control on this team. And I think that she may have a hard time breaking through a lot of fat because Celesteela takes some time to get going. Greninja isn't the strongest Pokemon. It's more of a cleanup late game Pokemon. She does have the Nidoking, which can definitely do a lot of work. And Iron Hands, and I guess even Enamorus to an extent. But I feel like Iron Hands and Enamorus may be a little easier for some of the bulkier teams to keep at bay. I do still think it's a great team. She's got a lot of bulk, and the Zoroark shenanigans definitely are gonna come up at some point this season.
I really hope so. Zoroark's one of my favorite Pokemon for a reason. I do like the fact that this team is relatively mobile. 5 pivoters between both fast and slow make this team actually decent. I feel like you're underestimating the power that Serena's going to give. It is only rapid spin around the team, but it's got pivoting potential. And I actually used one of these once, and if I'm being honest, I brought it as Assault Vest almost every week. But it did have relatively decent bulk with it. The Queen's Majesty comes in more often than I care to admit. But I will admit that it's not the strongest spinner. Mainly, and I'm concerned with that just because just seeing the rock weakness on this team.
Yeah,
because you're with this kind of pivoting, you're going to be trying to be getting in and out of like Enamorus and Arcanine to just like get quick damage in. And if they're taking that 25% every time, it's going to add up quick, especially with no wish support.
Yeah, the longevity for her team is definitely a concern. Other than Gastrodon, there's not really any reliable recovery. I think Serena might have synthesis, but I don't know how much that's going to come up since, as you said, probably wants to run AV a lot.
Yep. I do like the fact that this team does have essentially stab for almost every type. It's only missing Psychic and Dragon, which honestly I will always say I think Dragon is an overrated type. I think it gets way too much hype just because Draco Meteor hits hard. I don't think Dragon's a good type. And Psychic, I guess you can give or take on that. There's a few of these mons that will have access to Psychic moves, so it's got good coverage across the board, and it's not. I don't think it's a terrible team, but I'm looking at this and especially down towards Regice. I feel like there's, Regice, Serena, I feel like there's some mons that aren't going to carry the weight that Naukel's thinking that it's going to cover.
Yeah, the lower picks. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't personally care for the budget picks, but then again, I just don't think that those mons specifically do much. And if they do, I feel like there's better options. Like looking at the board, I don't know if we really had any good spinners left. A lot of them went super fast this time.
Yeah. Well, all right. Let's open up the floor. Dolphins, any thoughts and opinions on the Elgato Neuverns?
I'll just mention, there's a lot of pressure on Gastrodon this season for this team, I feel.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah, like Nidoking's a great ground, but it's an offensive ground. You know, it's going to be doing both the job of a bulky water and a bulky ground. So I don't mind Gastrodon. I hope it can do well, but there is a lot of pressure for it to be a backbone for this team.
Yep, no, I am right there with you, especially looking at that fire weakness there, and like the Hisuian Arcanine bringing it flash fire is going to take away from its, you know, offensive possibilities, or the intimidate, which is always just really good. And I don't see Mega Greninja blocking too many good hits. So that's really going to rely on Gastrodon to block a lot of stuff coming in. But hey, you know, Gastro's a decent mon for defensive needs, so let's hope that it pulls through.
Yeah.
All right then.
I just want to add that Cricketune, I really like the Cricketune here because it just gives the option of sticky web. And if those webs aren't removed, like Arcanine and Nidoking, for example, are gonna have a field day.
Yep, I do really like. That actually does bring up something really nice. Bringing those the sticky webs, and then having the Zoroark as your ghost type for the spin block is incredibly fun because you're never gonna know if you were gonna be able to get the spin off.
Of course, Steve.
I actually love that.
I also really like the combination of Zoroark, Iron Hands, and Mega Greninja because you just have the options. You're never sure if you can really take a dark move in the presence of these two because you're just gonna eat a big hit otherwise.
Yep, if the Zoroark's hiding as an Iron Hands, you're not going to want to try to click a Dark type move into it. But that's really the biggest way of handling the Zoroark. So I'm really looking forward to see how Nelko handles the Zoroark in this team. I think this team's got a lot of potential, but I'm curious to see how it works with with the tools that it's provided. All right. Our next team is Koenig B and the Claydol servers. I don't care how big we get. I am not saying that full name. All right. So
if B was here, she'd give you a pass.
That's perfectly fair. I didn't say it the first season. I'm not saying it now. B's team is interesting. Like I've been curious about seeing what the Mega Delphox can do. I haven't seen anybody really using it, or using it to that much effectiveness. So I'm very curious to see what this Mega Delphox is capable of doing. Now, this is a fast team. You've got, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 5 Mons, 100 or and above? And, with the Hydreigon, this team's going to be moving quick. Especially with the Ariados as well to, again, provide that sticky web potential. It's going to be hard to try to consistently outspeed this team. And trying to stay one step ahead of this team is going to make that even harder with the fact that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Mons that are capable of pivoting out of the 11 here. So this team's going to be able to move around. It's going to be able to repivot, reposition, and keep B on the front foot relatively easily, I think. That and the fact that you're not keeping hazards up against this team. One of the best
is crazy.
I know, with one of the best rapid spinners, Great Tusk here, and 6 defog options. The hazards aren't staying around. Even if they don't bring Ariados so they can, they can use the defog, the hazards are not sticking for long if B plays this well. And she's got access to every hazard herself with one of the best, one of the best spinners in the game. So this B's hazard control and just hazard game with this team is incredible. I don't know how I feel about a few of the picks though, because we're not doing there's no terrestrialization happening for us this season. The Comfey, Miltank, and Quillfish feel a little out of place. Like, these are good Terra captains, but outside of that, I'm curious on the value that they're really going to bring.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. You hit the nail right on the head there. The hazard control, the speed, and I think the overall power level of this team is so high. There's 3 Pokemon that probably coming every week that have 130 base, attacking stats. There's a lot of pivoting that this team can definitely do. I do agree with the bottom half of the draft. With the Miltank, the Comfey, and the Quillfish and Ariados. One of the weaknesses that I noticed is that there's really not good fairy resist for this team. Fairy spam can definitely be a problem because of Scizzor's low SPDF, and Delphox probably isn't going to be running Wish. Delphox has 150 special attack, so you're going to want to be using that.
Yeah, any move you're not attacking or preparing to attack, I feel like Delphox is never going to click Wish. And yeah, looking at the fairy resistances, 2 of them are Quillfish and Ariados. Those 2 aren't really blocking much of anything. Now, if this was the Hisui and Quillfish, it'd be a decent, kind of a decent one. It's still neutral to it, but at least having the Eviolite would make it better. I don't think Quillfish and Ariados are going to do anything to block fairies, which is really going to rely on Scizzor and its middling defense or special defense to really keep that out. And the fairies are going to be coming because that Hydreigion's right there. Yeah, and another thing, I guess, paired right with fairies is going to be dragons. Comfey is the only fairy type, and without terrestrialization, it can be a little squishy. The only other weaknesses that I clocked for this team is not having a spin blocker. Yeah. I don't think that's the end of the world, but you do have spikes and sticky web. So, that may come into play. And also, the team doesn't have the sturdiest flying resist. And we do have some strong flying types like a Mega Dragonite, which we'll see later. And the Rotom may be liable to be overwhelmed there. But even with those, I find those to be small nitpicks. Spoiler, I think this is the strongest team that we have. The 6 Pokemon of Delphox, Great Tusk, Tornadus, Superior, Rotom, and Hydreigon is so incredibly strong. And I do think there's a lot of value to be had, even with the lower picks. I think they'll show their worth, even if they are a little bit questionable. I do agree. I do think this is a really strong team. It's got amazing potential. The biggest downside for me for this team is because the lower picks just feel underwhelming 9 times out of 10. I feel like you're going to see 5 of the 6 Mons almost every week. With 1 or 2 swapped out for match-specific interactions, which is going to make it relatively easy to start prepping around, because you're never going to not bring Mega Delphox, Great Tusk, Tornadus, Therian. You're probably never not going to bring the Rotom Wash, so that's already 4 Mons that out of the 6 that you're going to be able to plan around. I think that's the biggest weakness, and that's the biggest weakness of a lot of teams. You go too heavy on the high end, and it makes everything a little too easy to plan around. And in draft, being easy to plan around usually doesn't result in good things, but I could be wrong. B is a fantastic player, and I'm curious to see how she's going to do with this. But if we're just looking at the team is relatively strong. I do think it's one of our more strong ones. I haven't convinced myself on whether or not it's the strongest yet, but I think that it's got exploits to work with, which might hold it back.
Fair enough. Dolphins, thoughts?
All right, let's go on then. Let's see who's next. The last one in the Pacific Division is Melee from the Sunnyside Screamtails. Now, this team, it's a classic. Tapu Koko Iron Valiant. You're not gonna find that it's gonna be lacking on power. That back end is going to be incredible every time. The Terapagos has great potential to sweep. It's a decent spinner. Actually, it also sets rocks, but then again, you've got Gliscor. I like this team a decent amount, but it's only a decent amount because the Tapu Koko Iron Valiant, you've seen it, you know the strength that it has. And like at this point, we've all seen it, so like it's going to be strong. It's going to get wins. Just the Tapu Koko Iron Valiant coming alone is going to clinch some games. But the question is, how do we feel about the rest of the squad?
Yeah, I'm a fan of the team. I do think there are some awkward fits. The Corviknight and Heliolisk, I think, are a little awkward. We do know that Val Coco is very good. And I do think there's a lot of diversity with the team. Terapagos has a deep move pool. Slowking, Gliscor has a lot of sets that it can run. And the team is very fat. I think that's another thing that it has going for it.
Yeah.
It's not going to be easy to break this team. I think the biggest downside that I've saw with this team is that there's a lot of win conditions, but there's not a lot of wall breaking potential with this team. The highest attacking stat is Iron Val at 130, which is still very good. Iron Valiant is an amazing Pokemon, but if there's another very fat team, or if somebody has specific counters, I think Melee may struggle with breaking those walls. This team feels like one that can definitely be piloted very well, but they will have to wear their opponent down over time, kind of more death by 1,000 cuts method.
I agree with that. This team's really going to be leaning heavily on Corviknight, Gliscor, Slowking as its defensive walls in order to set up opportunities for Iron Valiant to be able to, Iron Valiant and Terapagos to be able to come in and actually get the kills. I do think that the Entei is going to be underrated here. I think that Entei is a decent mon to have here. The base 100 speed means it's fighting at where it needs to speed wise, and choice band Sacred Fire is always a thing to be worried about.
Entei's fire damage is going to be very important for this team.
It's going to be absolutely huge. I honestly think that Entei is the biggest. Mon comes out, does massive damage, comes back. I think that's the only real Mon on this team that can do that. I do like that they've got the backup spinner with Eldegoss. I don't know how often it's going to come. It feels more like the Serena on that previous team, but it feels decent as a backup. And honestly, I'm curious to see what happens with the Fion.
Yeah, I was very curious of that myself. They were very surprised it was a one-pointer, and I can't say I've ever seen Fion do anything in draft, so I'm excited to see what tricks they have for that.
Well, we might see that, come season 3 of Black Dolphins, Fion might get a few point bumps.
Ban Fion, Uber.
Yeah, no, honestly, I feel like this team is going to be relying on the Coco Valiant and this defensive core in order to make moves happen. I feel like teams that have better wall breaking potentials or just gets like a one good read and knocks out one part of the defensive unit here, and the team just starts to unravel.
To be fair, though, relying on Gliscor and Slowking as your defensive backbone is not the worst thing. So
no, I definitely don't. I don't disagree with that at all. I like if you were gonna have defensive options, Gliscor and Slowking are some of the best we've got.
Yep.
I question having the Corviknight on top of that. I don't know what the Corviknight's really going to do defensive wise that the other two aren't already handling. Besides what, Fairy Resist? But
even then, Entei has that kind of Entei and Slowking can kind of have that covered.
Yeah. But I'll be curious to see how well the Corviknight actually does. I haven't really seen too many Corviknights because of how high they've always been priced. So it'll be interesting to see if it's worth the points that they put into this team.
Okay. Dolphins?
Yeah, just a quick one. I think it would have been nice to have seen another Paradox on this team. Just like one or two. You've spent so many points on Tapu Koko, and you've only really got one Pokemon, I guess Heliolisk as well, to abuse the terrain. I think it would have been nice to have something like, maybe something down the mid-table that can also use Quark Drive and also take advantage of it a bit.
I agree with that. And it's something that we see a lot of times, more often than not with weather teams than with terrain teams. But normally the gimmick that they're trying to do, they invest too heavy into it and the team can't exist without it. This kind of went the other way, and it hasn't really invested enough in the electric terrain gimmick that they picked up. So yeah, it does feel a little bit underwhelming because of that, I think. That's a good point.
Yeah, electric terrain's so expensive in NatDex Draft. Like, compared to like sun or rain or even like any other weathers, any other terrains, like you want to get a lot out of it. And I think I agree with you. You definitely shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket, but at the same time, you need to be getting value out of it as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. I do think this team's got good potential. Like I said, Valiant Coco's always going to be powerful. But yeah, I would have liked to have seen more from the Electric Surge here.
An Iron Thorns could have been really cool.
Yeah, Iron Thorns over Heliolisk would have been very interesting,
Crown.
I think.
Yeah, Crown Leaves, maybe, that's quite cheap.
Yeah.
I just want to add, it's a crime that Iron Bundle wasn't picked for this squad. Granted, it was, I think, drafted in like one of the last rounds of the draft.
Honestly, looking at this team, I don't know where you would have found the points. Valiant Coco's already eating up a good 30% of your draft. And then maybe get rid of the Corviknight, but then, I feel like that you're really putting a lot more pressure on Gliscor Slowking. I don't know where you'd find the points to make it work.
Yeah, but the thing is, there were so many good defensive mons in the mid tiers that I think if you put the offense on Coco and the Paradox, because you already put so much points in, like you said, might as well make the most of it, because Iron Valiant plus Bundle plus Coco plus Terrapagos just sounds like hell to deal with, and like just use the rest of the point to get like a really good defensive backbone.
That's fair. But I'll keep an eye on this team because it's always fun to watch Coco Valiant go off, but I'm curious to see how this is.
I do appreciate the more balanced approach.
I do, yes.
It is definitely a more balanced terrain approach. Well, yeah, we'll definitely have to keep an eye on it.
All right, and that's it for the Pacific League. Moving on to the other half of the Deep Conference, we've got the Atlantic Division, starting off with Rentoids, South Yorkshire Synestes. Now, I like parts of this team. Obviously, the Spite Ops supremacy always needs to be mentioned because Spite Ops is the strongest Pokemon that has ever existed aside from Bidoof, and the world needs to remember that.
You know it.
I think this team's got some decent power behind it. The Dragapult, the Mega DNC are going to be amazing options. The Urshifu is going to make people scared every single time. But to me, it feels, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Mons. Yeah, so it's got decent maneuverability. Because I feel like that's going to be a big thing for this team is, you know, keeping the Mon that you want out in front. Which, with defensive options like Snorlax and Donphan, the one that are like, that's what I really like are about like good defensive options, but they need to have you know, the potential of pivoting to get out of their defensive options should it change mid-turn. I do like Snorlax. I don't know how it's going to go here. The Tinkaton, I've seen good value with. Tinkaton's a great value mon. It's a great Thunder Wave spammer. It's, you know, it's got, you know, that surprise Gigaton that can just come out and, you know, get surprise kills. I've seen it before. It's hilarious. I'm curious to see how well this team's main core works, because it's the Dragapult, the Urshifu, and the Mega Diancie, right? And it's interesting. It's like,
Yeah,
I don't know how to feel about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would say overall I'm a fan of this team. I do agree that, well, on the Snorlax, I'm not really sure what Snorlax is doing here. I think Rentoid made one of the stronger teams, and there's a lot of great offensive power, and I think the speed tiers for this team is amazing. I mean, when you have Dragapult at 142 and Mega Diancie at 110 and Urshifu at 97, like, you're kind of covering all your bases there. I do think that there's a lot of great pivots for this team, but the biggest problem that I have with the team, my biggest nitpicks, is that the offensive Pokemon on this team feel kind of frail. They can definitely spec into bulk, and I'm sure that they can live, you know, a hit if you need them to. But in conventional sets, they aren't the bulkiest Pokemon. And then with the defensive Pokemon on this team, I think they're all very passive, and they may be easy to take advantage of with a coach that, you know, does good prep work in the builder.
No, I agree. I think the only, like, Donphan has always been like the default like middle ground for spinners, right? It comes in, it does the job, because of sturdy, you know, it won't be knocked out once. It's usually always going to get that one spin off, but it doesn't really do much outside of that. Like, it's got some good stuff, like, where, you know, some decent coverage with some elemental fangs, ice coverage, but it always feels underwhelming to see. I think a lot of it's going to rely on Vaporeon as a wish passer here, as I've always been partial to wish passing. I think wish passing is one of the strongest things that you can do if you know if you're using it properly. But I don't know how well this team defensively is going to do, and like you said before, with its main attackers being relatively frail, I don't know exactly how well it's going to be able to block and pivot. Like, it's got the potential to have Mons pivot out. I just wonder how effectively it's going to do that.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of pressure on Vaporeon. Slowking is there to help, but I do feel like Vaporeon is the anchor of this team, of the defensive backbone here.
No, I definitely agree. My biggest thing here too is just that that ground weakness is problematic. Only having the Rotom Mo to be able to stop it, or like realistically, because like I love Spidops, it's not stopping anything.
Great 1-point Mon, but he's still a 1-point Mon.
Yeah, I love Spidops. He's an amazing Mon, one of my favorite Gen 9s. He's not stopping as something that's going to be spamming earthquakes.
Yeah.
I think that ground weakness is going to come back to bite. I hope.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah, it was a bit of an unfortunate draft for me because a lot of people are hogging 2, 3, 4 flying types. I won't name any names, but yeah, it was a bit unlucky. So I kind of just decided, you know what, I'm just gonna have to deal with it. You asked about the Snorlax. That one is a glue pick to help with ice types.
Okay.
Because ice, like freeze dry, was very scary.
That's fair. I can see Snorlax as a decent special defense option to take some pressure off of Glowking. I can see some use in that, so it's definitely not the worst pick in the world. It seems a little out of place when you look at it, but I'm hoping that, you know, in practice it turns out a lot better than what it looks.
Yeah, I've never seen a Slowking pop off in draft, so I'm excited to see what you can do with it.
Yeah. Any other thoughts from our Dolphins?
I was just gonna say probably the Snorlax was to help with ice and most likely maybe all fire, because like Dragapult's not the bulkiest. Vepo needs to glue the team together, and Mega DNC you usually want it at really high HP because otherwise it's not gonna take that much. The ground weakness was already covered. The defoggers and rapid spinners will have to do also a lot of heavy lifting, I think, because Slice is really good into this team.
That's fair. It does feel like Don fans gonna have to put in a lot of work if they want to use, you know, hazards themselves, which that's kind of the whole point of the Spidops being here. You're gonna be you're gonna always be seeing, anytime you see the Spidops, you've got to see the Don fan, or else you're subjected to the hazard game just as bad.
We'll see if Rentoid can make some tricky plays with Mega DNC Magic Bounce, though.
That is true.
Also, I'm still a little sad about the Glowking steal. I was so sure I could get it, but I mean, if you want to trade, you know, I'm always happy to be there.
You know what? I wasn't gonna get Slowking originally, but I looked. So I thought I was never gonna get Urshifu Single Strike as my second pick, and then I did, and then I'm like, well damn! Now I gotta get like a fairy answer, and the Glowking's like him, you know, for fairies. Yep. So I was like, okay, let's get Glowking and just work from there. So.
No, I have a Nido Queen, you know, I could trade it.
We do have Umbra saying that Umbra thinks that the wish support from Vaporeon mitigates Don fans' biggest weakness, which I definitely agree with to a point. I do think it's going to be relatively easy to wish pass into Don fan. You know, Vaporeon clicks wish, opponent brings in electric type, you swap into Don fan, block the electric, Don fan gets the heal. I can see that. I think that's a good combo. I think there's great synergy between the two. It's going to be curious if that's going to be enough to really overcome everything, because Donphan and Tankaton are really the only physically bulky options that this team has.
Something like a Great Tusk is going to be really hard to contain.
Yep. But I'm curious to see how well it goes, and I wish them luck. Let's see. Moving on, we've got the Limber Luchadors, piloting by Voids. And this is a team. This is a Megalopony team. I think the combination of Megalopony and Chi-Yu is going to be terrifying. One's going to just be able to, you know, smack down on physical side so hard, and then there's the Chi-Yu to be able to hit on special side. I think this team has two amazing wall breakers here with that. My only thing is I'm not seeing much in the way of like setup mons. So it's going to have great, like, just, you know, punching power, like punching holes in teams. I just want to see if it's got the ability to close out games. It's like, yeah, Megalopony got Swords Dance, so it's going to have that option, but I don't know how often it's going to click it with how frail it is.
Don't forget, Lando also gets Rock Polish and SD.
That is fair. I don't think I've ever seen a Lando Therian pop off like that. I would love to see it happen, but I've always seen it as an Intimidate merchant.
I've drafted Lando a number of times, and I've definitely gotten a few Rock Polish or SD sweeps. It's got a pretty deep bag of tricks.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree that this team is very strong. I think this is probably the scariest team we have in our league. SD Lopini plus Chiyu plus all the pivots with Lando, Alecki, and Milotic is going to be really hard to contain. And an important thing to note is we are allowing Shed-Tail on Sceptile here. So that's going to really help shore up Mega Lopini's setup opportunities, with you mentioning how frail it is. Screamtail, I do feel like there's a lot of pressure on Screamtail as wish to keep the team healthy.
Yeah.
It may have the defensive core may be able to be overwhelmed earlier than Voids needs them to be if Screamtail's not able to get that wish off. The only other comment I have on the team is I think the bottom half from Alecki downward isn't the most threatening. These are a lot of mons that can be taken advantage of and be set up on. So Void's going to have to do a good job on positioning himself to keep that from happening.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Voids does have decent pivoting potential. I think I see 6 mons here that have it. I do think that, yeah, the offensive potential on this team is great. Megalopony, apparently Lando Therian, Chiyu, all going to be absolutely terrifying. The defensive options is where this starts to crumble, because Aegis, your only real physically defensive mon here is Aegis-Slash.
Lando too.
Yeah, like the Intimidate is going to be helpful, but I wouldn't really call Lando itself a good physically defensive option.
Yeah, Lando's never been a wall. It's more of Lando's almost always a check.
Yeah.
He's one of the best in the game, but
that's just it. Is like we've got a lot of strong physical mons out here, just running rampant, and without a good physically defensive mon, I feel like this team's gonna find that as a shortcoming. But I could be wrong, because both Milotic and Screamtail, great physically defensive options. Like Milotic does have its own recovery with recover, as Voids is angrily letting us know. But yeah, it's the physical side of things that I think might be problematic. Like that choice band Entei is going to come in, and even with Milotic, it's going to punch holes. So I'll be curious to see how well that matchup specifically goes, because I'm curious to see how that Entei is just going to be dealt with.
Yeah. I'm very excited for a
Marvel scale Milotic will do just fine against that. Also, I want to add spikes are really good into this team, just because your defaulter are Noivern and Lando Therian, and you first of all don't want to bring both to a matchup. If you don't bring both, Lando is forced to use defog, which means there's no setup option. And Ready Alecki, I think, can be used to get a setup on your own, or just have a heavy hitter come in.
Yeah, I think Regieleki is a fraud when it comes to spinning. Like, yes, it has it. Yes, it's usually going to be able to get it off, but it's going to die in the process every time. And the biggest thing with your spinners is you don't want them to die that fast, because then they just reset up the hazards, and then you're just in trouble. I don't care. I really don't. I don't think Regieleki works as a spinner. Having it as an option for it, fine. It's a good backup spinner, but I don't think it should be the only spinner.
That was an excellent point by Krumel. It may be awkward to fit both hazards and hazard control in the builder.
Yeah.
So,
no, I do think that should, and that'll be a big point for them to try to overcome.
Yep.
But
Any other Dolphins want to chime in?
On the same like wave of Regieleki, I like this Pokemon a lot for just, let's say you don't want to bring your ground into this team, or let's say you've got rid of their ground in the match. Like Regieleki now has like free rain, and that can be really scary as like for a low point Pokemon. Like this is like 7 points, and if you do manage to remove their ground, all of a sudden he's volt switching over your entire team.
that's fair.
Quite strong.
And that's all going to come back to the Mega Lopunny Chi-Yu. It's going to come back to those two wall breakers' ability to punch through the problems that this team is going to have to deal with. But if they can, this team's going to do fantastic. But if they're like, it just means that there's a lot of pressure on Chi-Yu and Mega Lopunny to be able to get those openings.
I think it's the best way to put it. That you said this is definitely one of the strongest teams we have in the league, but there is a lot of pressure on the top end guys to really put in work.
Yeah. And like I think the Envoy just made this point for us, but the only like a big defensive option that's probably going to be relied on is Screamtail's screens. Because you could bring the Regieleki for screens. I don't know how often that's going to happen, but you can. But it's going to be Screamtail using screens, and I think really utilizing that damage reduction is probably going to be the only way a team this frail is going to be able to keep up.
There's a lot of cheese potential with screens and Shed Tail. So, it's going to be to be seen if SD Lopunny gets banned for next season. So we'll see what Voids can do with them.
I will be curious on that part.
Yeah.
All right, moving on, we've got T. Clark with the New York Latios. Now, with me, I've been personally, and there's no shade to T. Clark, I think Nagindel sucks. Without Nasty Plot, this thing doesn't do enough. Especially for the point value it's at. I think Nagindel is going to come, or like you're going to expect Nagindel to do a lot, and it's just going to meh. It's going to feel like a lot of points for nothing. But the Mega Frostlass, I'm really curious about, because we've been seeing the Mega Frostlass everywhere in Pokemon Champions. It's a great doubles mon, so I'm curious how well that's going to translate into singles. Now,
Great.
This, despite the fact that, Mega Frostlass Snow Warning, T. Clark hasn't put a single Snow Abuser on this team. So, this isn't a Snow team, but the ability to change the weather takes it away from other potential weather teams. So, I do think that there's something good to be had there. I think Mega Frostlass is definitely the best Snow setter out there, aside from maybe Alolan Ninetales. But aside from the fraud Nagindel, having Ting-Lu Alomomola as defensive cores, it's not bad. I think the two of them are going to work decently well together. I think they cover for themselves pretty well. Looking at it, I'm curious on where this team's winning from. It's like the Nagindel's gonna at best punch a few holes. I don't know enough about Mega Frostlass to be able to figure out, how well it's going to just sit there as a singles mon. Kartana's going to be a great mon. Kartana and Victini are going to be great physical options, even if Kartana gets, knocked down by a very, very light breeze.
Yeah.
I don't understand a lot of the budget picks, the Archeops, Electros, the Hitmontop I kind of get, but a lot of the back end of this team confuses me, and it doesn't have the in your face offense to be able to justify a middling back end.
Yeah, I'm pretty mixed on this team. I do think it's still a very good team. Thomas definitely has good offensive bonds that can punch holes. Victini, Kartana are very strong. Mega Frostlass and Naganadel are both very fast and also very strong. And I do think with the defensive backbone, you are really relying on Aloe and Ting Lu, and those are probably two Pokemon you have to bring every game. So that kind of limits your versatility and variety in the builder. It's not the worst thing in the world, though. Aloe and Ting Lu are definitely far from the worst Pokemon to be kind of dependent on. They're probably actually some of the best. One thing that I noticed with this team is that there's not a lot of variety in the sets that these Pokemon can run. Victini has a very deep move pool, but everything else is probably going to be fairly standard most games.
Essentially just running stabs on most of the mons here. Like him on top's gonna
Thomas
have
has any tricks.
Yeah, like him on top's got like, triple axle. Nagandel's got like dark pulse and flamethrower. But like Sylveon's got Shadow Ball, but outside of that, yeah, there's like a lot of these mons don't have wide coverage.
Yeah.
But I mean, in the end, Victini or Choice Band Victini V Create is gonna hurt something.
Yep.
So that's always going to be something to look out for. I want to see this team do well. Like I love the design for Mega Frostlass, so I really want to see Mega Frostlass do well, but I'm not convinced that it's going to get there.
Yeah, I do. I guess the last thing I want to mention, or two things, is that I think you hit on it. The budget picks are a little questionable. I'm not sure how good Archeops, Illumise, really the whole bottom half of the draft is going to be. I think they may just kind of be there. And Thomas is going to be relying on the top end of his draft to really carry him. And the other thing I noticed is that the hazard control is not that great for this team. Kartana's not the most reliable defogger, and other than that, it's Hitmontop, and I don't know how many games Hitmontop is going to be coming. And if it is, then he's kind of forced to bring it just so that way he's not ruined by Spike. I almost
feel like Hitmontop's going to be forced to be brought just to have that spinner.
Yeah,
because your defog options aren't great. The only one I can realistically see is Illumise. Prankster defog means that you always get the defog off, but if you're bringing Illumise, you've got better plans, or more important plans that need to happen, like Thunder Waves, Encores, stuff like that. You really usually won't have that free turn to be able to just get a casual defog off.
That also means you're leaving one of the top 6 at home, and that's probably a good thing for the opponent.
Yep.
So,
all right. Any last thoughts from our Dolphins?
I just want to add, I would love to see a Excalibur here instead of the Naganadel. I do not understand the Sylveon pick. I mean, yeah, you need a bulk carry, but like if you want a Wish Setter, already got you covered. And I feel like if you can find a better spinner or defogger, you should go for that instead. Because yeah, you already said it. It's very hazard weak.
Yep, and
I guess this team kind of has a similar thing what we saw with the Valcoco team, where not enough is invested into the weather.
Yep. You've got a potential to have something really strong, but you're leaving some of it on the floor, and you're just not you won't have it to even consider using.
Yeah, Excalibur, Arctozolt, and Alolan Sandslash, like one of those guys could have been really cool here.
Yep, I would have loved to have seen a Alolan Sandslash over Hitmontop here, because if you still want that spinner, but then it can also benefit from the Mega Frostlass. I would be curious to see how that would play out, but I'm going to be keeping an eye on this team, mainly because and this is a personal thing for me. In a different league that I'm playing, I actually have a team with Naganadel Victini on it, so I'm curious to see how that's gonna play out. where compared to how mine was. So that's gonna be a fun thing for me to watch. But I hope this team does well, but I don't see it.
I think one thing I'll just add on to that before we obviously like towards the end. This team, yeah, it's got its shortcomings, but it is very hard to switch into. Victini, Frostlass, Naganadel, they're all pretty hard types to switch into comfortably. They have a lot of just raw, you're going to be hard pressed to find like a specific check to this team, which is quite cool.
That's fair.
But yeah.
I do think that this team definitely has the potential for some high skill ceiling plays. Like just looking with how much this team can pivot. It's gonna be hard to lock this team down. Sure, I love that about it. I'm a sucker for pivot moves, so seeing this much pivot potential is absolutely fantastic. And I think that's gonna be what they're gonna have to lean into is just like with B's team, you gotta use that pivoting to stay one step. Keep yourself on the forefoot. If you end up falling behind, you're gonna struggle to get back that momentum. But you've got the tools to keep the momentum.
And also just add, Hedron kind of was this whole draft.
Oh, that's really great for the Heatran player then.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you've got heat.
All right. So down to our last player in the Atlantic League, we've got Scary Terry with the Boston Breloons. This team, funny enough, this team is the only team in the league to use the maximum amount of 12 Pokemon. I love that. Yeah. I absolutely love that. There are some really cool options in here because there was a previous league that I was in where I used specifically Tangela Audino, and it was the funniest thing. It was called the Baby Regen Core, because they both have regen and they both cover each other well. As Audino's better at special defense, Tangela's good. Tangela's got a base, was it 115 physical defense, so they cover each other well, and theoretically they're fantastic. I didn't have the best luck with it, but it did a lot of work. So having those two as a decent defensive core is fantastic. While also this team having Empoleon and Clefable to back up that defense is where the team that I had this on didn't have. I think it's really smart to have additional defense options aside from the baby regen core. I don't even want to look at this team's offense because it terrifies me. Spectrier, Garchomp, Mega Gallade is wholly terrifying. This team, everything that this team has that's going to want to smack you super hard is over 100 base speed, so it's going to be hard to keep up with this team.
Yeah, it's definitely a very scary team. The offensive combination of Spectrier, Garchomp, Gallade, and you left out Kyurem. Kyurem is also a big one there. It's going to be very difficult to contain those four Pokemon. One of the biggest concerns I have with this team is that those four Pokemon are so incredibly strong and potent that it's going to be kind of hard to fit in some of these other guys. It's going to be hard to fit in a Tangela or an Audino or a Quillfish. I do think that it might be kind of strapped for versatility in the builder. Another thing with the offensive cores, even as scary as they are, some of these Pokemon don't have the best coverage, so they may not be the most consistent. Spectrier notoriously can't handle normal types that well, and even Gallade struggles with some psychic types that are bulkier. Yeah. So we'll see how good Terry is able to navigate that.
Hey, that Snorlax pick is coming in extra value right now. Got that Spectrier counter.
There you go. One thing as well about this team, I agree with you. And those first three Pokemon are so good. All this team needed was just a couple pivots to get them in. if it had like consistent ways to get them in, you know, then this team would be cruising, you know. But you know, other than Empoleon and I guess Baton Pass or Teleport, I think it gets Clefable.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a little bit hard to. Yeah, it's gonna be a little bit hard to get them in. Not that those are bad options by any means. But it would have been nice to see, you know, maybe 1 or 2 more.
Yeah, that does definitely mean that this team's going to have to rely on good predictions more often than not. Because, yeah, like you said, like there's not a lot of potential with that. Like maybe you could, if you're using the Cutie Fly and it's not dead. Like Cutie Fly is coming in. This is a focus sash, sticky webs, and then explode kind of mod, and not because you clicked explosions, because you got exploded on. The cutie fly is there. I love it. Gotta always need to bring attention to sticky webs users because they're so far and few between, and we've actually got a lot of them this season, which really brings out the necessity for hazard control. I like this team. I think this team's got a lot going for it. Like, its offense is terrifying, and it's got really good defenses. But yeah, like you said, it's going to come down a lot to you're bringing a lot of the same Pokemon every time, which might make it easier to win the game in Team Builder.
Yeah. You brought up the hazard point with sticky webs. That's something that I think is a knock on Terry's team. The hazard control is not the best. You're pretty much just looking at Empoleon. Cutiefly is never going to defog. And Talonflame may defog in some games, depending on the matchup, but the only reliable one is going to be Empoleon, and that's a lot of pressure to keep hazards off.
Yeah, but
especially when you have
a rock
to cure him.
Yeah, like no spinner too means that the Cutiefly kind of loses value here. Because if your only removal is defog, you're going to remove the webs that are set up by the Cutie Fly, so you're sacrificed for nothing, and you're essentially in a 5v6 at that point.
Yeah. I do want to bring attention to the Nihilego. I'm not exactly sure the fit of the Pokemon. I don't know when it's going to be coming or where it's going to be coming from, especially since the rest of the offense is so potent. More defensive backbones might have been the way to go there. I do think that, you know, this team is kind of going to go as far defensively as Clefable can carry it with Teleport. If you're making a bet on a Pokemon, Clefable's a good one to make a bet on. But
I think the Nihilego is here specifically as a bulky fairy wall. Because the Quillfish is going to do fine, but it can't block the fairies. Nihilego with it, you know, you remember, Nihilego has a base 131 special defense and a 109 HP. It's relatively specially bulky. We just never see it all that often. It doesn't have any healing to it. So as a defensive option with no ability to bring its health back up, it kind of limits it. But if you're using it specifically to counter special fairies, I don't think that's a bad option.
I do think it can come in. It'll be clutch in some matchups, but I just think it's a little bit of an awkward fit.
But that's just it. I think that's this whole entire team is just, you know, you bring the scary core, the scary four, and then the entire rest of the team is just utility tools for a week-to-week basis.
Scary Terry with the scary four.
Oh, man. Anything?
I do want to shout out Tangela. Tangela's an excellent 1-point Pokemon. That was a great pick.
I do like that. I love the baby regen core. I think it's gonna be fantastic. I want to watch someone die to it. All right. Anything from our Dolphins before we move on? All right. Well, that clears out the deep conference. So now we go to the shallows, starting off with our freshwater division. Our first team is the Evergrande Arcane Niners, led by Tiger. And obviously Tiger needed to pick up the Arcanine. Obviously it needed to happen. I think this team is really interesting, right? Because you've got amazing physical options with the Sneasler, the King Gambit, you've got the Rillaboom, the Mega Golurk. Like, got the Arcanine, which we talked about before. You know, it has potential to just, you know, do massive amounts of damage. But if you're looking at special attack here, what? Thundurus, Manaphy, Hatterene? I think it's going to come up short. I think it's going to come up lacking special attackers. So if you get a team that's very bulky, especially on the physical side, and you're not in, you know, you need those special attackers to break through, you're going to be relying on Thundurus and Manaphy. Like, I do see the don't think I don't see that little trick room thing you got going on either with Hatterene and Mega Golurk. I see it. I don't like it, but I see it.
Yeah. The thing with this team, so I like this one a lot. I like how good it is with grassy terrain specifically. I think there's a lot of good picks that like terrain more than, you know, other teams, which is what you want. I think you're right. I think this, like, Sneasler really likes having just another nice special attacker to just break some stuff for it, you know?
Yeah.
Or just get, you know, or you can rely on it as like a secondary win con. We'll have to see obviously how it does. Maybe Thundurus is just goated, but yeah, it's going to be a little bit tough, I think.
Yeah, I want to think that Thundurus and Manaphy are just going to be able to sweep through everything, but I don't know. We've got a lot of good bulky mons this season, a lot of good bulky teams. I do also, you know, obviously need to mention the Rillaboom Sneasler combo with the Grassy Seed. The unburdened shenanigans are going to be there, and it's going to be interesting. Love that. I actually like the fact that these got both the Grassy Surge unburdened combo and a good TR setup with the Mega Golurk King Gambit. I think you've got good options here, having both that, you know, that really good fast mode and a really good slow mode. I think this team handles its speed very, very well. And it's got, like I said, it's got decent power. Like, overall, I think this team is really, really strong. I'm
actually a little bit lower than you guys are on Tiger's team. I do think the offense is really strong. We've seen Sneasler have a lot of success, and you know, you made a good call out with Mega Golurk in the Trick Room. One of the buffs that Mega Golurk got was actually Headlong Rush, so the grassy terrain is really only a benefit to Golurk now. I guess my biggest problem that I have with the team is that, well, yes, Tiger can punch a lot of holes. There's not really much of a defensive backbone. Like, looking through, there's not a lot of recovery and a lot of, while he does have some tanky Pokemon, they're not the hardest to overwhelm.
Yeah.
Manaphy maybe can take 3 hits if you bulk it out. Cyclizar maybe 3 if you bulk it out. And King Gambit, while a bulky Pokemon, does have very exploitable weaknesses without terrestrialization. So I think Tiger's game plan may be limited in a lot of games where he's basically just trying to out-offense his opponent and try to win first. He's not really going to be able to outlast them. And the other thing that I noticed is that to reach the offense's full potential, there's a lot of setup Pokemon. Sneasler kind of needs SD to really clean the game. King Gambit does. Rillaboom and Manaphy needs Tail Glow. So Tiger may not find success immediately punching holes, and it may take some time to really get going to execute a game plan.
That's fair. I didn't see that, so that's definitely a good call out. I hope this team does well. Cyclizar is, you know, you got to note Cyclizar over here as the rapid spinner, doing his best. I don't think Cyclizar is that bad. I think, and we've seen Tiger pick up the Varoom before. This has been a pet pick from Tiger with the slow start. It's been fun. It's been funny just to see the slow start actually like work as a pivot for him. Because
I didn't know he got a slow start.
Oh yeah, it's hilarious. Varoom gets slow start. Reverum loses it, but with Varoom's slow start, it's an amazing defensive slow pivot because I believe it gets parting shot.
Yes, it does get parting.
Yeah.
So having a very slow parting shot gives you a decent slow pivot. But yeah, this team's struggling with its defense, is struggling with its special attackers. I'll be excited to see if it doesn't need them, but I really feel like it's gonna struggle.
What do you guys think about the pivot moves available to Tiger? Because on paper there's a good number of them, but I don't know how many of these you're bringing. The most I could see is Cyclozar U-turn and maybe Rillaboom.
I could see
U-turn some games.
I could see Choice Band Rillaboom coming to a few different games. Choice Band Grassy Glide is still going to punch holes. So having that as a U-turn mon as well, very strong potential. But yeah, despite the fact that there's a lot of mons with pivot moves, I'll be curious to see how many of them actually bring them, because they're all going to be setup mons.
Right.
So there's one thing that's not showing on the dock yet. So Arcanine actually gets teleport in NatDex.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, so that's something you could use. I've used Sneasel Rillaboom before. I actually won that league, and Rillaboom's a really good bulky pivot, choice bander, leftover. He does a lot. And as a pivot, I think he's like one of the best, to be honest. He's really good.
That's fair. I think there's definitely a couple good pivots on this team. But yeah, like it's gonna. I think my biggest things is just it struggles on the defensive core and it struggles on special attacking.
Sure.
That was a great call out on teleport, Rentoid.
Yeah, I got you, Tiger. I got you. I noticed these things, man. I noticed these things.
When did you get that? Is that a Let's Go move? That's got to be a Let's Go move.
Yeah, it's Let's Go. Like everything got teleport. Magneton gets teleport as well for that reason.
That is too funny.
Magneton. I actually had someone use that against me, but against my ground, but used teleport Magneton. So
that is too
only
funny.
In draft.
Oh, all right. So with that being said, our next is going to be Acid with the Moss Deep Moonbreons. Dear Lord, what am I looking at here?
Ooh.
So obviously this team is terrifying, right? The D Speed, Roaring Moon, Golden Goat, like this just feels like this is just base Gen 9 powerhouse right here. The Roaring Moon Golden Go combos are always going to be terrifying.
Yeah, dude.
And I think they back it up pretty decently well with the D Speed Keldeo. The Mega Manectric I've never been a big fan of. It's an Intimidate mon, so it still has good use. The Dug Trail with Arena Trap is going to be hilarious to see in action.
How many points was Mega Manectric?
I don't think
7 points, not bad.
Yeah,
Not
it was well placed, I think.
Yeah, I think
The Auroras I don't understand. The Auroras is just kind of here. Like Weezing, sure, and this is another team that really struggles on the defensive end. Like this team's got a lot. This feels like a lot of teams this season are gonna have like that great front foot, but if they fall behind or lose out on tempo, they're gonna have a struggle. They're gonna struggle to come back with it. I think this team struggles from it very heavily. Because like Dugtrio is gonna be an amazing revenge killer. So it almost feels like this team wants to lose their Pokemon in order to get their revenge kills.
That's a great call out, dude. One of my questions I had is I wasn't exactly sure what Dugtrio is doing. Typically, you pair Dugtrio with a Volcarona, for example, to get rid of Steel and Fire types. But using Dugtrio as a revenge killer makes a lot of sense, especially when you look at how strong those first 4 Pokemon are. Acid has some really great offense, and you're going to be forced to withstand all of their hits. Another thing that we need to call out is Indeedee's terrain. You're not going to be outspeeding the Deoxys. You're likely not outspeeding Roaring Moon, and with Indeedee, your priority does not matter. So you really are just going to have to take the beating, and hopefully you can you can survive. The speed on this team is absolutely amazing, and so is the hazard game. Deoxys is probably one of the better hazard setters in the game, and even looking at the doc, Keldeo gets Stealth Rock, so that's another one. And of course, having Goldingo to block hazards, that's a classic. Hazard stacking plus Goldingo, kind of undefeated.
Yep.
The only problem I have that Duke kind of alluded to here, I guess I have two, is that the defensive core is kind of non-existent. Goldingo and Roaring Moon do have solid bulk to them, and even Deoxys speed. But these aren't guys that are taking, more than 2 neutral hits most games, unless you really bulk them out. Togekiss and Weezing are going to have to really hold their own, and I don't really know if I have faith in them to do that. The Aurorus is a very questionable pick, and I do think, for that reason, that this team could use more pivots. There's not a lot of pivoting options available to Acid. So
I think this might be the team with the lowest amount of actual pivoting potential, with only 4 Mons here.
I think it doesn't show on the doc, but I think female Indeedee gets Baton Pass. I'm actually just going to quickly check
that might be the.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
I just put male Indeedee on to show an Indeedee, but he does have access to both genders. See, I guess that brings it up a little bit, but yeah, the defensive end of this is. It feels like another I need to hit you harder than you're going to try to hit me.
What makes it even worse is that your only defogger is Togekiss, and you don't have growth.
This team definitely struggles with hazards. It's going to be a big one in the hazard game. So
I think especially because I've used Goldingo before, some of you might remember actually. But the thing about Goldingo is you want a solid rapid spinner to go alongside it, because you don't want to be removing your own hazards. You want to be stopping them from getting rid of the ones you've got on their side of the field, right? So you need a strong spinner, and I think that this team would have really liked that.
No, I agree. I definitely agree. I'm going to be curious to see, because this team has, I think, one of the more consistently powerful special options of any of the teams that we've seen so far. So it's going to be able to hit special side incredibly well. And with Roaring Moon alone, I think that it really, like I said before, that you didn't really have much of the special options on that previous team. However, with really only Roaring Moon as a physical attacker on this team, and Doug Trio, I don't think this team's gonna suffer from that, because Roaring Moon is just that good.
Yeah. Roaring Moon is since we're talking about Roaring Moon, this team does have a pretty nasty fairy weakness where Goldingo is the only real answer. Not a bad answer, but that's still something to take note of.
True.
Yeah, that's true.
Any other thoughts before we move on? All right. Then we move on to the Blackthorn Crashers, piloted by Gray. Now, I'm curious to see this team in action, because obviously we've got some Gray magic here with the Lunatone. We've seen Gray do amazing things with Lunatone before. Also, this being the Mega Floette team is this is another thing alongside the Mega Frost Ice team, where I'm going to be very interested to see how the Mega performs, because this is the other Mega in Champions that's all over the place. So I'm curious to see how well it does in a singles format. It's got really good special bulk, amazing special attack. It's a bit frail on the physical side, but you've got this team has some decent options to be able to mitigate physical with the Crocodile's Intimidate and the Ferrothorn. I think the Ferrothorn is going to be carrying a lot of this team's defensive weight between that and the Pecharunt. That's the defensive end of it, and they both have the ability to self-heal themselves, which is great for defensive options, so they can just sit in on anything that they want. I'm curious if that's going to be enough for it. teams does have decent power on both sides with, you know, the Cinderace. The Quaquaval is an amazing snowball potential mon. Zeraors are always got good value. I love the Staraptor here. Double Intimidate on this team is hilarious.
Great.
It's like Gray saw the Mega Floette's physical defense. It was just like, all right, double Intimidate.
That's a good call out. I'm a real big fan of this team. This is actually one of my favorite ones that we have in this draft cycle. This team is so incredibly fat. Ferrothorn, Pecharunt, Crocodile, Druddigon, even Staraptor, and Floette has good Spadef, and Cinderace can be a nuisance to take out. It's going to be a hard time removing some of these Pokemon just because of how fat they are. I think Gray built a very versatile team. There's a lot of options for every Pokemon here. I don't think he should have a problem breaking through or checking most things. It's a very fast team. The speed tiers are really nice here. And I do think he has excellent hazard control between Cinderace and Quaquaval. The only concern I have is that when it comes to his offensive threats, there's not really one move or Pokemon that is extremely spammable. Mega Floette, not the hardest Pokemon to check because it's kind of only limited to fairy coverage. Cinderace Pyro Ball, while it is strong, it's not the most spammable move. And then just kind of going down the list from there, nothing else is really very spammable. I do think that means he's going to need to position himself well and really focus on chipping down walls. But I don't think that's really too hard of an ask and too much. And we know Gray's a great player too.
I think this team honestly has the ability to do that, though. With that defensive of Ferrothorn, Crocodile, Pecharunt, with the double Intim, even the Druddigon, I feel like this team is positions itself very well to be able to get that chip damage to whittle things down where one of the three, Cinderace, Quaquaval, Mega Floette, even Lunatone, are going to be able to just come in and finish off. I think this team is incredibly well built. I don't really see a single mon on this team that I would swap off with anything. I really think that this team is it's going to be a very it's going to be, like you said before, it's going to be with how fat this team is, it's going to be hard to break through it easily, which we've seen a lot of teams base themselves around just trying to punch holes in things. This is one of those teams that just says no to that. So I think go ahead.
The biggest call out when it comes to that is going to be ground types. I do think that Gray's going to have a hard time checking really strong grounds. You look at a Great Tusk and you look at this team, or a Mammal Swine, and it's it gets kind of dicey, right?
Yeah.
Ice types can also be a problem. Something like a Kyurem that has Freeze Dry, Iron Bundle. But I do think that even still, Gray should have the tools to be able to battle through that.
And that's what I like about this is, yes, it's got its weaknesses, but it has clear pathways to be able to cover them.
Yep.
I think this just is an incredibly well-balanced team that it doesn't throw too many eggs in one basket and tries to make a cohesive team across the board. And I really like that.
Yep.
The only thing I can see this team struggling with is really bulky types, because you don't really have that hard of a hitting answer to just immediately wipe that out. Mega Floette is going to struggle with that. Quavel is going to struggle with that. Cinderace, depending, if you're banded, then you're going to do it quite chunk, and Crocodile is the only really good answer for that.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I can definitely see some struggles there. I'll be curious to see how widespread of a weakness that ends up being. But I don't think it's gonna like it's not gonna be that it's definitely not gonna be like debilitating where the team falls apart if those mons show up.
No, I don't. I think it's also just a really great pick.
Yeah, I definitely think this is definitely one of the stronger teams that we've looked at so far.
I agree.
I think this would be like one of my picks for one, or like the number one slot here.
I struggle a little bit with ground.
True.
Yeah.
Like it's got its struggles, but it's got tools to handle almost every struggle it's got. Because you like that Lunatone's going to be showing up more often than I think anybody realizes.
I hope so.
I'm a big fan of Lunatone as a low tier pick. Very unique defensive profile, and it has like some very unique offensive coverage too. So we'll see what Gray can do with that. I enjoyed using it in season 1.5 a lot.
Well, we'll see how well that goes. So if we got nothing else, let's move on. Our last team in the freshwater division of the shallows is Umbra with the Corvallis Corfish. This team is interesting.
As you can say with any Umbra team.
Yeah, and like we've run into the same problem again, where we've got the Torkoal, and then the only thing really utilizing it, the Sandy Wings, maybe the Slitherwing. Like Slitherwing's a decent mod. I absolutely love it. Choice Band First Impression is going to punch holes, but it feels like, I don't know. To me, it feels underwhelming. It's a very underwhelming Sun team. There's no synthesis mon here. Umbra opted for Flapple over going for something like Venusaur. So I don't know how. Like to be fair, Sandy Shocks works perfectly fine outside of the weather. It's an amazing mon regardless. Like the mon's gonna work well on its own. But if we're looking at offensive pressure here, it's gonna be coming mostly from the Mega Gardevoir and the Iron Bundle.
Yeah, there's a slight bit of like anti-synergy here with Bundle and Torkoal as well. Because like, you don't really generally want to rely on Hydro Pump from Bundle if you can. But like sometimes you will have to, and if your Sun's weakening it, it can be a bit awkward.
Yeah, a Bundle honestly feels like a little bit of like anti-synergy here. Like, I feel like if you wanted that strong water type, then you'd be going for Walking Wake. Yeah, Walking Wake would have been the perfect addition here, I think.
I think it's still on the board actually.
Yeah. I don't think anybody picked it up. But like Walking Wake would be, to me, would be perfect here, and I'm not just saying that because I don't like ice types.
Yeah, we've not got to yours yet.
Oh, it's coming! It's coming. But yeah, to me, it's the offensive threats here that we've got: Mega Gardevoir, Iron Bundle, kind of Sandy Shocks. Flapple maybe like this. I don't see the pressure from this team.
I'm very confused on this team myself. Umbra mentioned messaged us. He was like, let's see if y'all can uncover the special sauce I'm cooking up. So I've been trying to piece it together, and I can't see what she's referring to. I do agree that there is some anti-synergy with Bundle. One thing I want to call out is that the speed on this team is pretty low outside of Bundle. I think after that, what is it? It's
Cincino at 115, Sandy at 101, Mega Guard at 100, and then it just goes down from there.
Cincino's probably not coming most games, I would imagine. There's another thing I want to call out is that there's not a whole lot of recovery on this team. Orthworm and Torkoal and Glamora can be really good defensive pieces, but I think Umbra may struggle since that's kind of the centerpiece of her defensive core. There's not that reliable wall like a Clefable or Gliscor to really help those guys. One thing I do think Umbra did really well is I think Umbra has probably the best hazard game in our league. Glamora, Orthworm, Sandy Shocks, Torkoal. It's going to be really hard to keep hazards off. One of those guys is going to be able to set them up, and she does have Mimikyu to spin block. So that's going to be really nice for her.
Mimikyu is a really decent spin block with Disguise. So, yeah I do agree that this is definitely the best hazard game in the league. I'm gonna wonder if it's enough. Because, you're going to be able to set up those hazards, but if you're not threatening swaps, the hazards aren't going to matter that much.
Right. I think, like you're saying, I'm not sure if it's going to be enough. Other than bundle, I don't really know what the win condition is. Other than a bundle cleanup, it's going to be difficult to outlast your opponent with the lack of recovery, and the low speed makes it hard to just punch holes and KO their Pokemon first. Umbra is one of the most tricky approaches that we have. So I definitely have faith in her and what she's cooking up. So I can't wait to see what shenanigans and strategy she has.
I'm definitely interested to see what the cook is here, because I don't see it. I really don't. This team just feels discombobulated to me.
I was just gonna say one thing. One thing that's nice, I suppose, is Orthworm having Shed Tail.
Right.
Oh,
yep.
Yeah. What value at that Pokemon for 10 points? Yeah, I like that.
Yep. No, I definitely agree. I think they're most of these mons have great value individually, but it doesn't feel like it comes together as a team to me.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I agree.
I got a few thoughts on this team, to be honest, because first of all, I really like Mega Gardevoir plus Sun, because it just combos really well.
Yeah.
And also like Earthworm plus Mimikyu, because if you get the Shed Tail on Mimikyu, you kind of have either 2 free sword stances or 1 sword stance plus a free attack, which I would prefer.
That is true.
Bundle also feels weird, I agree with that. Raging Bolt and Vulcan Wake both are there to swap out, which I would prefer. Bolt giving a bit more bulk to this team and a bit more of a backbone, and Wake just giving even more faster offense. Yeah, that's kind of the biggest things I see. I do not understand the Flapple pick as well. I mean, that's just the source of Umbra, I guess. Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts. I like it because it feels like a jigsaw puzzle that you can't make out.
You're definitely right on that one. It definitely feels like a puzzle. I don't think I'm smart enough to put together. No, so I'm gonna be curious to see how Umbra actually pieces this together and comes out with wins.
It may be hard to prep for it in the builder too. Thinking of that, I can only imagine what are you prepping for? That is a good call out. I do want to say Krumel with Gardevoir's Sun. I didn't see that Mystical Fire in that deck. So, and Mega Gardevoir is definitely going to be very difficult to wall once that Torkoal gets sent out.
Yeah. Nope, I agree. But I will be keeping an eye on this one specifically to see what the hell Umbra's got cooking for this.
I'm excited. I can't wait.
All right. So that is our freshwater, and for our last division, we've got the coastal div with the Lazy Chomps coming up first, piloted by Krumel. Now, this is our Heatron player. This was I'm not gonna lie. When this team started off the draft with Mega Crabominable Tapu Fini, I was stunned. I was not expecting it whatsoever. I'm curious to see what this thing's gonna do.
I like this Pokemon a lot. I was looking at this as well, actually. I didn't expect it to go so soon, 4 points. I'm glad you didn't get Slowking with
I'm so mad about that
Mega
still.
Krumel. I did not mean to snipe you. I didn't think anyone was going to try and take Slowking. I wanted it just for my own reasons, and I'm really glad I did. So,
Yeah, that would have been demonic.
I find this team incredibly funny. Like, I almost feel like this is the team I would have expected to see a Snow Setter on, because between the Mega Crabominable and the Weavile. But like, I think this team is really cool. I love the the Nidoqueen. I think having that on there. I think this is the first season I've ever seen both Nidoking and Nidoqueen taken. Yeah. And I love that. But honestly, I think the only real problem this team is going to have is its speed. I think it's gonna struggle trying to not get chipped down. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not seeing any Trick Room setters. Oh no, Frigoraph. Never mind. Yeah, so it has potential Trick Room energy to it. I do like the fact that it's got an ice type on both the fast and the slow side of things, so that's hilarious. This feels like a very anti-me team, as we'll see here in a second.
Pick the ice type and it's a counter to you.
Yeah, right. I do like it. It's got some great bulky options between the Heatran, the Zapdos. Kudos to the Arboliva here, because a lot of people underestimate just how much that thing can tank because of Seed Sower. Seed Sower giving you the ability to get that free heal is incredible. I think a lot of people, discount that way too much.
Yeah,
I really like Arboliva. I think that Pokemon's amazing for the price.
I do think we've got a little bit of. I feel like this team just suffers from a little bit too much overlap. You got the Mega Crabominable and the Annihilate and the Weavile. So I feel like you're kind of overlapping with yourself on the wrong ends of things, because there's very little that Mega Crabominable is going to do that Annihilate won't, or Weavile that, So I feel like there's a lot of times you're end up not going to be bringing one of the two that overlap with the Mega Crabominable, because this team is clearly built around the crab. So I feel like I don't know, the Annihilate and the Weavile just feel like one of them's going to end up just bench warming, and they're both a decent amount of points to be sitting as bench warmers.
No, yeah, there definitely is some overlap there that I didn't catch between Weavile, Crabominable, and Annihilate. The thing is, I think that's okay if one of them is sitting on the bench, because I think every Pokemon that Krumel drafted is just good on their own right. I think this is a very deep team. There's not a single Pokemon that I look at and be like, yeah, that's questionable pick or easy to take advantage of. It's just a very solid team. I'm honestly a big fan of this team. I love how Gen 6, Gen 7 coded it is with the Feeny, Lottie, Weavile, Heatran core. There's a lot of older Pokemon that I guess I'm very nostalgic to. One thing I do want to call out is that there's not the most recovery on this team on some of the defensive Pokemon. Zapdos has Roost, and I guess Latios has Roost if the matchup calls for it. So it may be a struggle getting worn down over time. If the opponent is able to position themselves well, or if they just have a Pokemon that can keep coming in. I will say the overall power level on this team is a little low too. Outside of Crab and Lottie, the attacking stats are a little lower than some of the other Pokemon that we've seen in this league. I do think that they're still able to punch holes, but you'll definitely have to position yourself well, to put them in those spots to do so. I don't think it's as much just a click button team. So that's something to keep an eye out for. The Arboliva is a really great pick here. I think that brings a lot of it together. You kind of do have a little bit of a ground weakness on this team. Something with like Edge Quake or ground ice coverage, which a lot of Pokemon get now. can definitely be a problem to handle. But our Balova with the terrain can definitely help subsidize that to weaken those earthquakes for you.
And I do think that if we're talking weaknesses, we can't discount that fairy type weakness.
But the thing is, he does have Heatran. Like Heatran,
Nido Queen should be fine.
yeah, I do think Heatran is doing a lot of heavy lifting with keeping a lot of the weaknesses at bay. There's a lot of pressure on Heatran.
That's why I think that this team's really. I feel like this
Yeah.
team's really struggling there because it's gonna really because it's relying so heavy on the Heatran and Heatran not having healing and there being what Farigiraf Wish. I don't see very many times where we're gonna go Farigiraf Wish, then hard swapping and then swapping the Heatran to get the heal off. I feel like Heatran, like once the Heatran goes down, the defensive part of this team starts to whittle away. Like you're essentially your defensive options here are Heatran and Zapdos with a little bit of Infini.
Damn, this team would have really enjoyed a snow setting poison type. It's crazy.
You know when you're right.
Can I say my thoughts on team building? What came through my head when I did
Yeah,
this?
come on, go for it.
Because the thing is, that's why I'm so mad about the Cloaking Snipe. Because my idea was, okay, I get Crab first, because for 4 points, damn, the thing that does damage. And tanks, shit, it's disgusting how much things this guy takes. And with the added snow boost, that would have been even worse. The next pick was gonna be Torn, so I have Cloaking plus Torn to have a disgusting Regen Core as well, which was also sniped in the first round.
Yeah, I wanted that as well, to be fair. I wanted Dawn as well.
And then Roaring Moon got sniped, which I wanted in that core, because Phoenix plus Roaring Moon was kind of nice. And the reason why I picked Weavile in the first place is because I needed something that was over 110 speed, and there weren't any other options, and I still needed a Dark type, so that
Yeah, I
was
think
the
I
only
took
option.
Darkrai right before you.
Yeah.
Nah, I think you picked Darkrai way earlier, right?
Darkrai was around 3 pick, I believe.
Yeah, I picked Weavile like in the last, I think around 6 or something.
Mm.
So it was really late, and like Annihilate is kind of only there to be a decent spin blocker, and I didn't have anything else to do with the points because I didn't see anything that was like really fitting in, with like speed tiers in mind as well.
Fair.
So, but I do agree with like the fairy weakness being a big thing, and that Farigiraf is the only wish passer kind of sucks. I think I'm still gonna look for an option to make the Crab even worse, like maybe Alolan Ninetales. But the thing is, if I pick that, then Feeny kind of, as a fairy type, loses its role, which I kind of don't like.
Yeah.
And I still need the speed, and there aren't any other mons available in like the higher tiers that do anything for this team specifically. So I might just leave it at that. And have both.
I mean, I'm gonna be curious to see it.
Fairies isn't too bad. Yeah, sorry.
We got Tiger saying as well that both Heatran and Nido are sharing a ground type weakness. So if there's any fairies out there that got that ground coverage, like Earth Power, this team, you're gonna find a hard time trying to keep that fairy walled.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. I wonder who's that one.
Oh, I mean, to be fair, you've got the Mega Meganium that gets it, Mega Diancie gets it. There are a growing number of fairy types out there at this point that are going to have ground type coverage, so I feel like it's going to be more common than we're letting on.
Even something like water ice coverage or water ice or bolt beam coverage, like that can be difficult too. I'm a big fan of the team, but I think if you had one more piece to tie everything together, that would really like push it over for me.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that.
Sure.
It feels like this is one part short of being just its top potential.
I think Rentoid will lend a helping hand and just hand me all that training, and then it's gonna be a top tier team. Just believe it.
I mean, What you got?
Nidoqueen.
I'm not taking Nidoqueen.
Send the cash app. Send the cash app.
How
I'm
much you get?
taking Nidoqueen.
All right. Going from there, our next team is Amzers, the Melbourne Melmetals. And speaking of the Mega Meganium, this team honestly terrifies me. Mega Meganium, Melmetal, Gouging Fire, Greninja is another scary Formons.
This is great.
I think the top end of this team is incredibly powerful. I've actually been playing with the Mega Meganium myself, and it's not the worst option. And I hate saying that because I've been a Meganium hater since Gen 2. It's got some decent potential now, especially with the because it also gets Weather Ball. So you've got 100 base power fire type move at all points in time. You've got ground coverage with the earth power. You've got, obviously the grass stuff. 75% heals off of synthesis. Mega Meganium has a lot of good potential here. The Melmetal needs no freaking introduction.
I think it's so good. I've used it before. It's so good.
It's so nice. I love it. I absolutely do. I'm gonna be curious to see how well the back end of these work. Raikou, Miss Magius, Mamoswine, all relatively decent. The Necrozma and the Girafarig confuse me. I'm curious why both were picked. I don't really understand Necrozma enough to really know what it's doing, and especially not to know what it's doing here.
Yeah, Necrozma has a lot of versatility. It's kind of hard to pinpoint what it's going to be doing in a game because it can be a stealth rocker, it can cosmic power, it can calm mind, it can physical. Necrozma is a hard mon to pin down.
I don't think this is a terribly bad team. This team doesn't really have the defense to it. It's got Tentacruel for decent special defense. It's got bulky Mamoswine, Eviolite, Girafarig. So it's got bulky options alongside, the bulk of Melmetal, Mega Meganium. And it has some potential healing with Baton Pass, Girafarig, but base 70 health is not the best wisher. I don't hate this team. I think that this team offensively is going to be fantastic. I think this is another one of those, I went heavy on the top end, and I'm just going to try to hit you really hard.
Yeah.
This is another one of those teams too that doesn't really have a lot of good pivot options. Like it's got 1, 2, 3. It's got the 4 of the mons that have pivots, so it's on the lower end of what we're seeing in this league. It seems like 5, 6 has been pretty normal. So seeing 4 on this definitely limits potential for being able to keep up tempo wise. But I feel like you got some decent swap-ins between to get into them. Like Tentacruel is going to be a big swap-in to get take that block, swap out Girafarig as well. So I think it's going to really rely on Tentacruel and Girafarig's pivoting potential in order to keep this team going.
I also want to add, he said he only has 1 rapid spinner, so if Tentacruel goes down, those hazards are staying, and especially Melmetal, if spikes are up, that's
no defogger either.
Forward to his longevity.
Yeah, and no defoggers as well. So that is potentially concerning, especially with as many good hazard teams that we've been seeing so far. Being this weak with your removal gain could definitely be problematic, especially just with rocks up, the gouging fire is going to be taking big chip damage. The gouging fire, the Mamoswine, and those are mons you really don't want to be, taking all that chip damage like that.
Yeah, to me, the Amz's draft here, it kind of seems like he had an idea with Meganium, Melmetal, and I think it's kind of reading that his draft fell apart. Like he got sniped too much and had a hard time pivoting. I'm not the highest on AM's teams here. I don't think there's very much versatility with the Pokemon outside of Necrozma and Greninja. I guess Meganium and Gouging Fire can run defensive sets, but I think they're best utilized probably going to be as breakers.
Yeah.
There's something that y'all called out. There is not much recovery here. Gouging Fire and Meganium do get Morning Sun and Synthesis respectively. I don't know how far that's going to take AMS here. This team feels very trade heavy to me, where you kill me, I kill you. We're just trading Pokemon.
Yeah.
That's never been a style I'm particularly a fan of. I think he's got great Pokemon for that. Gouging Fire, Melmetal, and Mamoswine are excellent trade Pokemon. They're very good at that. We'll see how well AMS can pilot that. I do think the back half Meganium onward of this draft is a little confusing to me. I think the Tentacruel has a role, but everything else, I'm not sure what the Raiku's doing. I'm not sure what the Necrozma's doing. I think those could have been swapped out for maybe some more glue Pokemon. The unfortunate part is that AM's made a bunch of trades already. So, he has a little bit of wiggle room, but, the team that we see here is pretty much going to be the team that we see at the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I see why the trades were made. This team used to have Ranunculus, Kilowattrel, Pheasantipity, Cryogonal, and Golurk. I feel like the Pheasantipity was a decent add here.
Yeah.
But I see why is with, like, if you were taking off the Cryogonal, you lose your spinner. So you need to put the spinner back on, and Tentacruel was the desired spinner, which means having those two poison types with your already existing ground weakness was going to be a problem. So I get that. I've never been a fan of Mismagius. I don't think it does. It's too frail to be able to swap in on anything. It doesn't really do, like, it tries to be a ghost type, but it just kind of, like, to me, it falls short. It's got Gengar's frailness without Gengar's explosiveness, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't see that.
One more point I want to make is that this team outside of Greninja is pretty slow.
Yeah.
So if there's any faster offensive Pokemon that are more explosive, like you mentioned, it may be hard to tank the hits and trade.
Honestly,
so we'll see.
I feel like this team should do that though, because this is another team that is actually relatively fat. Like,
yeah, it is pretty fat.
Mega Meganium, Melmetal, Mamoswine have decent bulk to them. Tentacruel has decent special bulk. The Giraffre with Eviolite. Like, I think this team is relatively bulky, so I think it should trade well, especially, with like the Mega Meganium and the Gouging Fire being able to, heal off of Morning Sun Synthesis. So I think we probably actually will see more bulky sets from the Meganium and Gouging Fire, because I bet you there's going to be a lot of weeks where AMS is just going to sacrifice speed for bulk. I 100% can see just like not even attempting outside of Greninja or Raikou, if Raiku's coming, to keep the speed up.
I think that's how he has to play it. But that does put a lot of pressure on Greninja. He cannot let his Greninja go down early, because then he has no real way of revenge killers. So I don't think there's really any priority outside of Mamoswine's Ice Shard either.
No, but I mean, that Ice Shard will be doing damage.
True. That is true.
But with that one aside, we'll move, unless anyone had any...
I want to.
No, go ahead. Go for it.
What I wish for this year in this team would be like a good flying type. Just to help out with the hazard removal, as
Yeah.
well as giving better switch into ground types aside from Meganium, and I don't think like his mages will do a good job of that. And otherwise, I just want to say shout out to Amzer, because he has been messaging me a lot, because he was picking before me. So he also always asked me if I have any plans, so he doesn't snipe me. So Amzer's the goat. That's all I have to say.
Amzer is the homie.
Honestly, my last thought on this is looking at this. I honestly wouldn't be terribly upset seeing the Raikou swapped out with Rotom Fan.
Ooh,
Because
that opens up a
Rotom,
lot of points then.
Fans are usually pretty cheap. And they would give the defog, you'd probably, it'd probably be running boots every time, but item on Rotom's never mattered. So you run boots Rotom for defog, and I think you've got a decent or at least a decent backup option aside from Tenafroll.
Yeah, that's 5 more points to work with too. I think, maybe partway through the season, if it's not working out, there's a couple moves he can make. He's only got a couple, so you'd have to make them count.
That is true. Any last thoughts? All right, now we're moving on to an amazing team. We're going into the LA Ludicolo, piloted
Do you
by.
want to say this one? Do you want to say this
me.
blast?
Yes.
Oh.
Right,
I'm
we
down
gotta
to
ask
save-
you straight away. What are those first 3 picks? What are you doing?
So, so we started draft. I was blessed getting first pick.
You're welcome.
And I had walked into it, not really thinking about what mega I wanted to run. If I'd figure it out as I went. But I picked up the Shaman Sky because Shaman Sky isn't legal very often, and I love using it. It's an amazing Pokemon. It forces prep, which means it leaves options open for other Pokemon. I was actually so tempted to almost also take Urshifu Rapid Strike because of the little rain core I got going on here.
Yeah.
Forcing people to choose between Covert Cloak and Rocky Helmet was going to be so much fun for me to think about. I ended up going against it. I wasn't gonna have the points anyways, but I ended up looking after first pick. I was like, what mega did I even want to pick? Because I saw people starting to pick megas. I was like, all right. What do I even want? And I didn't care for most of them. Then I saw Mega Dragon. I was like, you know what? I want to try Mega Dragonite. I like the design. I like the stats. I like everything about it. And then I'm thinking, I was like, okay, what fits well with that? And I was like, I need a good ground attacker. And the only one that was sticking out to me was Landorus.
Oh my god, I'm so mad about that. You sniped me on that. I wanted Landorus. I meant Krumel could have had Slowking.
Oh, so Duke,
Please, you have to trade it.
You'll have to maybe you've got a high enough speech skill to convince me. Maybe we can have some talks. About it.
Maybe. Well, personally, I really like this draft of mine. After picking up the first 3, I realized Landorus, Mega Dragonite, I've got decent options for Rain. So grab good defensive options. Got a small little core here. This is what I think is appropriate investment into a gimmick, because you've got the Rain, you got the setter, and you've got one mon that's dedicated needs to have it, but then you've got 2 mons that can use it but don't need it, because Mega Dragonite doesn't need Rain, Landorus doesn't need Rain, but both of them benefit from it. Landorus gets perfect accuracy, Sandseer Storms off of it, and Mega Dragonite with the Hurricane and Thunder, great Rain abusers that don't need it. I think this is a good representation of what gimmicks could or should look like in a draft scene. Maybe not with the other Pokemon that I've picked, but I think that this is a good way of showing a gimmick without like fully investing in it. Because if you full invest in it, you make it predictable. This at least keeps it away from being fully predictable. The ice mons are definitely going to still scare me, but I've picked up a few defensive options, I think, to counteract that, and I'm really curious just to see what you guys think on that one. Because I could talk my team all day, but I'm curious what other people have to think.
Yeah, I think Duke probably has one of the most fun teams. It looks like it's a really fun team to pilot, and I do think you have a lot of different modes, as you're hinting at, that you're be able to game plan for. You know, you don't have to go rain if you don't want to. Dragonite can run a lot of sets. Landers can run a lot of sets. So it may be kind of hell for the opponent in the builder. I do think the fit between each Pokemon is kind of clunky. There's a good bit of overlap with the different weaknesses. You have 3 steel types and 3 flying types and 2 water types. So, you know, Edgequake can really do a number on your team. You don't really have good Edgequake answers or Bolt Beam. And while I do think that the lower tier picks for the defensive Pokemon you have, Fortress and Florges, even Magnezone, they're great Pokemon, especially for where their point value's at. They're all kind of very passive, and they're easy to take advantage of and set up on. And outside of Ditto, which I'm surprised you got the Ditto, that you managed to squeeze the points out and budget to get it. But outside of Ditto, you know, you can definitely have some problems with setup if you don't bring it. You know, there's a lot of fire, a lot of ice, and a lot of ground weaknesses. So you're definitely going to have to play very carefully with how you position your Pokemon. But you do have some, you know, decent ways to maneuver them. I think the team has a lot of flaws, mainly because of how the first part of the draft went, but it also has so many strengths because of how the first part of the draft went. You're going to live by your flying types, or you're going to die by them.
The Shaman Sky is a really cool first pick. I hoped, well, I didn't hope because I'm against you, but I really like Shaman Sky under Sun rather than Rain. It gets growth. So you could have done some nasty spot Shaman shit, right? That would have been cool. But I like your middle picks. I like Fortress Florges. I think the point, like, what you're getting for what you're spending is super good.
I do really like Fortress Florges here. They complement each other super well, being able to more or less handle what the other can't. I think the two make a really good defensive pairing. Plus,
yeah, I like it.
Florges is a decent. I say decent. It's base 78 health, but it's still it's a wish passer, and I've used it for that a decent amount.
Yeah, I've used it before. It's really good price.
But on the point of setup sweepers, and I will say that they're being set up on, and I will always say this: Ditto stops 90% of setup sweepers in Team Builder.
I taxed the Ditto. And you still found a way to get it.
I wasn't even planning on grabbing the Ditto. It just worked out that way. But Ditto is a great threat in Team Builder because a lot of times people just talk themselves out of a potential setup sweep because of the Ditto. And I think you'll find a lot of times people building against this team are going to end up just trying to focus on the punch holes mode instead of setup mode in fear of the Ditto.
I honestly believe, I think that if you didn't have that Ditto, that your team would probably be very easily bottom 4. But that Ditto alone is really bringing your team up.
Oh, I wholeheartedly agree. I without the Ditto and like looking at this team now, I probably would have ended up making a lot of trades for the week 0.
Yeah.
Got the triple steal under Rain. It's pretty cool.
I was going back and forth whether or not it was going to be Fortress or Scizor. I'm happy with the Fortress.
I'm glad you didn't take Scizor because B was very, very happy to get Scizor in our pods.
I knew I needed a defensive option. I knew Scizor wasn't going to cut it.
Yeah, true. Scissor's good, but it's not known for its bulk, really. Not compared to Fortress, at least.
Nope.
Yep. Any other thoughts, anybody?
Personally, I'm going to be loving playing Politoed over Pelipper. Being forced to take Politoed, so I had another ice resistance. I love that.
Oh my god, I could not imagine if you took Pelipper.
Can't wait for Freeze Dry Week. I am brutal.
Yeah, me and Amzer was talking, and he was saying how he promised he wasn't going to snipe the Pelipper from me. I was like, I'm not taking Pelipper.
I don't have the wiggle room for this. I need ice resists.
Oh man! All right. So with that out of the way, we're down to our last team, the Timekeepers, piloted by Mr. Monkey. This team's
with no monkeys on the team.
There are in fact no monkeys. So
What?
I'm feeling a little, bamboozled right now. But Meowscarada, I feel like it's got some decent potential to it. Like, you've got strong offense options with the Meowscarada, the Iron Moth, Jirachi. Like, Jirachi's always going to be a problem, right? Because the Serene Grace Iron Heads are always going to be terrifying. You're always going to have to worry about that. And just getting hacked out of a game because of it. My big thing here is you got the Ursaluna Blood Moon, right? But correct me if I'm wrong, but what TR users are on this team? I'm assuming Jirachi gets it?
Does Sableye get Trick Room?
I don't think so.
I think Ursaluna is just good on its own, though.
Yeah, I mean, Ursaluna Blood Moon, like, it's still going to be a really good mon. But usually you don't see it with someone who doesn't have a TR gameplay in mind. So that's going to be very interesting.
Does Carbink get Trick Room? Carbink should get Trick Room. Carbink gets Trick Room. So that's one.
Okay.
Does Sableye get it?
The Sableye
does not.
Yeah, and like to me, this was going to be for me another case of you're going to see the same like 5-6 mons every week. Because outside of maybe bringing TR for the Ursaluna, the Carbink's not the greatest. Like sure, it can it can stop dragon attacks, but most dragons will have some other coverage moves. Especially like Garchomp having Iron Head is gonna destroy Carbink.
Right.
But like the Komala, the base form Rotom, I can see kind of the Mienshao coming, but I feel like most weeks you're gonna see Meowscarada, Iron Moth, Primarina, Dragonite.
Yeah. This team struggles quite a lot with hazard removal. I mean, in fairness, one thing we haven't said this entire time, we did see someone earlier who's hogging all the defoggers. Right? We won't name any names, but yeah, so it's kind of rough. I assume all the like hazard control options just got sniped, so they ended up with Rotom Normal and Kamala, which is rough. I guess you got Magic Bounce Mega Sableye, but that's you gotta it's tough. You just gotta play around it, right? So
Yeah.
To me, Monkey's team feels a little too honest. I think it's very well-rounded. He's got good speed. He's got nice priority. He's got nice setup. But I don't think, other than Ursaluna, which Ursaluna can be easy to take advantage of because of its low speed, it's not the most explosive team. I don't think the defensive core is particularly strong. Primarina and Dragonite have good bulk, but they're more tank mons. They're not really walls. So a lot of that's gonna fall on Sableye. Sableye and Jirachi, I guess, to an extent, are really going to be tasked with stopping some of these demons we have running around, and I don't know if they're going to be up for it. because of that, I think Monkey may end up having to sack a lot of Pokemon. I could definitely see this team being one of the leaders in sacks. But we'll see how Monkey's able to play around it. I do think it's a very well-rounded team. Maybe a little too honest.
Yeah, this team doesn't really like scream that like explosive power to me, as we've seen with some of the other teams, but it also isn't fat enough like some of the more bulky teams that we've been seeing. So it just kind of sits in that middle ground across the board, and it feels like that jack of all trades kind of team where it's like, yeah, it's got a lot of options, can do a lot of things, but are any of the things that it's doing going to get it across the finish line?
Right. This team does have a lot of pivoting, U-turn, volt switch, flip turn. So he can definitely do some tricky things there. To be able to get an Ursaluna in, or to be able to set up a Moth or Jirachi or Dragonite.
Yeah.
So I think there's definitely a lot of great things Monkey can do with this team. I think this is probably a high skill ceiling team. Maybe not as low of a skill floor.
Yeah, I would agree with that. All right. Any other thoughts before we move on to the actual rankings?
Good.
All right. In that case, let's make the hard decisions and see where people are going to land. Okay. At this point, we're gonna have to rip off the Band-Aid, and I'm thinking we go up from the bottom.
Great.
Go from 16 all the way up to 1, which means we got to name what team do we think is the weakest out of all of this?
I think we can. It is hard to choose, and I don't think any team was built poorly. I do think every team has good potential, but I unfortunately, I think we were in agreement, mainly based off of confusion, that most likely Umbra is going to be getting the 16th spot.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that they've got a lot of good potential. I think they've got some great stuff. I love the team, but no, I don't think it comes together. I don't think it does enough for what it needs to. I think it tried half-hearted on a gimmick, and I don't see the puzzle pieces coming together. But for all we know, Umber could have more puzzle pieces behind her back that we don't know about.
Yeah, I really hope we're proven wrong.
Another thing is Umbra didn't make any trades yet, so there's a lot of room if the puzzle pieces don't come together to improve this team. I think the core and the foundation is definitely there, and it's strong. I do like the Mega Gardevoir and the Torkoal together, but as it is, I think we're all in agreement on that.
Yeah, I think that this team has the potential of coming together, but it needs a few alterations to get there.
I think that's fair to say, yeah.
And from there,
Where are we feeling? What's another team that we were a little mixed on?
I mean, we were just talking about Timekeepers just not feeling the best.
I don't think I would put Timekeepers at 15 though. I think the teams that we felt kind of mixed on as a collective would have been Amzer's team, and I think we may have been a little mixed on Melee's team also. Those teams had some pieces that
as well.
That's fair. I mean,
yeah, those are probably the three next teams that we were the most mixed on.
Yeah, I don't think I can justifiably put the Coco Valiant at 15 though.
I agree.
No, I don't think it's hard to order those ones. Yeah, I mean,
it was like the combo itself is always going to be powerful, even if the rest of the team around it is garbage. So that combo alone will bring you up out of 15th to me.
I think for the same reason we probably can't put Acid's team there. The Oxus, Goldango, Roaring Moon is probably too strong to be putting at 15.
Well, which means that...
Time,
oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, at the same time though, like if everybody's got a starting core like that that's really hard to put at a low place.
Yeah.
So we might just have to kind of bite the bullet with one of these. Yeah. It's really tough. I'm really struggling to place one.
It is. It really is, because like there's, and that really just goes to show how well people were able to draft across the board. Even with the numerous snipes that we had, everyone was still able to come out with something relatively decent.
Right.
Yeah. I actually think my opinions on this could even change depending on the day. You know, like it's that close.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right now, I would say I'm probably leaning Melbourne Melmetals next.
I honestly think I would agree. I do like what he's got there. But it's definitely a case of it just doesn't have that back end to me. As if,
Yeah,
like,
it's got a backbone. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not at the speed. Yeah.
It's like, is it like if you like, you know, took away one or two of the mons and like gave you like really like a really strong defensive mon, or you know, you just even like one mon, good, like amazing defensively on this team would be perfect.
Yeah. So for the next slot up at 14, and the teams that I'm looking at that we can all discuss would be Duke, Monkey, Melee, Thomas, Tiger, and Acid and Terry.
I think we were talking a lot about how T. Clark's team felt like it needed stuff.
Yeah.
I still hold on to that. I feel like this team, it doesn't do enough to me. And like that, to me, that's personal, because I don't think without Nasty Plot, Naganadel is going to be worth the 19 points.
Yeah.
Because like you're expecting a 19 pointer to like come in and, you know, just carry a game like Iron Valiant. Like you're expecting Mega Delphox to, like stuff like that. I don't know if Nagadel's got it.
Yeah, I would say I probably do lean T. Clark's team next. The hazard control is a big thing, and then also just the uncertainty of Mega Frostlass and Naganadel. These are mons that with Frostlass we haven't seen in a single setting, so that and kind of the lack of set variety on a lot of Pokemon, I would say I can agree with that placement.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Then I think from here we start to reconsider the Iron Valiant team and the Roaring Moon team. We've got a few teams that are, you know, below it, but I definitely start to think that the Coco Valiant and the Moon Golden Go start to not be able to carry past at this point.
It just doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't have enough synergy with the Goldengo Invert. Is a brilliant pick.
I think honestly,
I
I would put the Mossy Moonbryons by Acid over Melee and the Screamtails. I think having that Dug Trio there is going to be a fantastic option. I think the revenge killing capability on Acid's team is the best out of the teams that we've discussed that are probably going to lean into the revenge killing. The Dug Trio is the best, or one of the best revenge killers in the game, I think. That Arena Trap's going to catch mons out of place so hard, and it's gonna be able to snipe kills easy. I think go ahead.
There is Shed Shell though.
Yeah, there is Shed Shell, and I guess the difference is I think I would honestly put Melee's team ahead. And the reason I say that is because one thing that we discussed with Acid's team is that the defensive pieces really weren't there. And Melee has an extremely fat team with Terapagos, the Terra Shell, Gliscor, Slowking, Entei's pretty bulky himself. So I think there's, well, maybe Acid's team can win in an offensive match. If it came down to a defensive match, I would definitely pick Melee's team. And I think they're probably more consistent overall, especially with the lack of a rapid spinner for Acid.
That's fair. That's fair. All right, let's go with that then. Moonbreons for 13. And we got the Sunnyside Screamtails taking 12.
Okay. Okay, next step. The next set that I'm looking at would be Duke's Ludicolo's, Tiger and the Arcanines, and
I'm not gonna lie, I would honestly start looking at the Houston Comets as well.
Okay, that's fair.
I was like, I'm not entirely sure how that back end's going to function. Like, I'm sure Crawdon's got the good capabilities, but the Breloom, the Lycanroc, the DOD is going to be incredibly easy to manipulate. As you know, getting out in front of the DOD, it's got taunt, but with how slow it's going to be, you're going to get at least the start of setup going, and it's not really going to be able to come back from that. I don't think.
I find it hard to move past the type overlap with the Ludicolos, and then I find it hard to move past the lack of a defensive identity with Tiger's team. I don't know. What do you guys think?
The thing is, for me, like, the way I see your team, Duke, is like your 3 best Pokemon are all 4 times weak to the same type, which is going to make it really rough if you do want to bring your best Pokemon to a match. And I think that's going to, like, you've got the capabilities to counter it, but then that probably means leaving behind 1 or 2 of these guys, which could be rough for you.
That's fair, but I feel like the way that team's set up is it's not designed to bring all 3 of them every week.
Yeah.
But then you lose a lot of offensive potential if you don't.
This is it.
Like,
That's what I'm thinking.
I don't think terribly too much, because you still have the Basculegion in the back to be able to utilize that Raincore with. Or maybe I'm overvaluing the Rain option on this.
I think the Rain option is very, very good. I just think it's like if there's a clear identity for this team, it's always tough when obviously you're leaving behind, or you've got a little bit of overlap in terms of type. Weaknesses on your best Pokemon.
If we all agreed to put Duke's team higher, I personally can't co-sign putting it in the top 10 just for the weaknesses and limitations. But if we all agree that it should go higher, then I don't have a problem either.
I mean, I'm definitely not going to sit here and say that it's the best team ever.
Yeah, I think because at least with like Tiger's team, like it struggles a little bit defensively, but like it's got like the Sneasler mode, which is obviously good synergy, and then like you've got you've got stuff with like there's just not really that much like of a clear weakness in terms of like you can't just bring one Pokemon into it and expect it to do well. Like your team has obviously the Rain mode, but then you've got Freeze Dry to worry about as well.
And there is Kyurem, there is Bundle, Frostlass gets Freeze Dry. There's a lot of that going around in the league.
Fair enough.
Exactly that, and I think you might struggle a little bit. Is all.
All right, then we'll put myself at 11.
But then where do we put? What did we say? Tiger and which was the other one?
Tiger and I was starting to look at Geo with the Houston Comets.
Tiger and Geo. See, at least with Geos, like you've got very clear physical like breakers and special break. Like you've got Darkrai as a special attacker, and then you've got Palafin as like your physical.
We also need to think about B. I think is we were talking a lot about how the back end of this one was really weak. The Miltank, the Quillfish, the Ariados, the Comfey.
Bees is going to be really hard to place for me at least.
I think B should at least be no lower than top 8.
The thing though is that we've got a lot of teams that that pump their first 4 and let the back end suffer because of it. So the question we need to start asking is who's suffering the most from that weak back end, and I think the 2 weakest back ends were at least first off T Clark that we've already touched on. But I think B's got the second worst back end here.
It's a fair point. Like your best fairy answer is Quillfish and Scizor, and you've got 2 Pokemon, but you've got Delphox, but it's not really a proper answer. And then from there you've got like Great Tuscan Hydreigon who hate fairies. That does make it kind of rough.
Yeah.
It's a weird one to play. It has strong pieces, but then it has it's wonky, right? That's
that's what I mean about it is like and especially you're going to be bringing there's never a week where you're not bringing Great Tusk. There's barely going to be a week where you're not bringing the Hydreigon, so you're already got those fairies that are going to be breathing down your throat, and the Quillfish Ariados are not going to be able to stop the fairies.
Yeah, it's going to be all relying on Scizor, and Scizzor's not the bulkiest steel ever. It's great offensively, obviously, which is great. It's got that advantage, but...
And it's going to come down to, like I was saying earlier, a lot of these teams that went so heavy on the top end, and, they're lacking that bottom, is predictability. If every week is going to be Mega Delphox, Great Tusk, Hydreigon, Tornadus Therian, you're going to be able to plan around that a lot better than some of the other teams that are more well balanced. They might be able to bring different Pokemon.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think I agree with the weaknesses that we have for B that we mentioned, but the top Pokemon are just so damn good.
Yeah,
I mean, would we say that B's team is worse than say like Monkey's team, who we said was very way too honest, and Tiger's team, who also had that issue on kind of the back end not being the best. Like there was a number of teams where the back end wasn't great. Like I'm looking at Knuckles' team. That's something that we mentioned with her team.
To bring attention back to Monkey's team, do we think that did we just overlook that initially with these first ones? Because with that honesty, are we too high for timekeepers right now?
I think you could be right, in fairness. And to answer your question, Gio, you phrased it really good, because my answer is no. I don't think B is, out of the ones we've named so far, I don't think B's team is worse than any of them.
Yep.
So, yeah, that is a good way to phrase it. So, I think that's going to have to go higher.
I think with Monkey's team, I do think that we may have overlooked that. I'm looking at it and either that 13th or 14th spot. Do we think Monkey's team is better or worse than Acid's team or Thomas's team?
See, because here's the thing is you've still got the Victini, the Kartana, and like the Nagido's not going to be able to straight up kill things, but it's still going to, deal some damage. I feel like T Clark has better better defensive core with the Lomomolo Ting Lu than anything that Monkey's got. And if we're considering them as similar offensive power, T Clark having the better defense to me makes him better, which to me would put Monkey at 14.
I can agree with that.
I'm looking at this, and maybe I'd even put Thomas above Acid as well, because like you're right, like he's got Wish Pass Alomomola into Ting Lu, and that is pretty strong as like a defensive backbone, even if you've got a suboptimal lower picks, right? Like you've got enough to assist your offensive pieces, which is the kind of point of this team.
No, that is fair. So honestly, I could see him moving up to 12 here as we put timekeepers in 14.
Yeah. I think I can get behind that.
That makes sense. That makes sense to me. Because I remember we were literally just looking about him, and then we got lost in so many other teams. And that's the fun of having a 16 league, or like, you know, PRing a 16 league team like this, is you have to like really remember like your thought process on a lot of these.
You gotta lock in. You gotta lock in. Yeah. I know some of our coaches are probably screaming at us.
Yeah. We're gonna make enemies in the main season because of this.
Hey, just remember, y'all, we're trying our best to just kind of yapping. We're just not super organized.
Yeah. So we're in the top 10. This is, and I'm going to bring this up again because I think this is where we need to start separating. Where we got to start looking at those teams that are heavy on the top end, but kind of just throw away points at the end. The big ones that I'm looking at, again, I'll mention B. I think Terry's one of them. I think the Baby Regen Core is cute. I think it's going to be helpful, but I think they're wasted points. I think who else was I going to put in there?
What about Krumel's team? Because Krumel was another one we were looking at that didn't have the heavy breakers and was a little more honest. I do think Krumel is, if we're looking at, you know, compared to Monkey's team, which was also another one that was kind of honest, I do think Krumel has a more complete team. What do we think about including that in the conversation?
That is fair.
Very it's a big victim of being sniped. Like you can tell.
Yeah.
But it is still, you know, it's still not bad.
I feel like this team though is this feels like power creep the team. Like every single thing on here feels like eventually it got power crept with better mons across the board. And again, you know, this is a product of Snipe. He probably had better options across the board in mind, but this is what he had.
Yeah. He worked with what he got.
So does that mean that you think we're putting that below any of the established teams, or do you think that belongs at 9?
I think this is honestly a great spot for it. Like right above where you're listed at, Dig. I think that's probably a perfect spot for it.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
I don't disagree. I can't really see this team going much higher. All right.
I think the next one to go above that, in my opinion, is looking probably like Tiger.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, Tiger's got good pieces, but as we were saying before, it needs that last like glue piece to come together. Like he's got a bunch of small options, but he doesn't really have that like bring together thing.
Yeah, like it's a great team to abuse grassy terrain. I will say. But yeah, it just needs like a standout special attacker to complete it, really.
Or even a standout wall, right?
And walls, yeah, we spoke about that earlier.
Yeah.
Walls.
No, I completely agree.
Yeah, I don't think we can go any higher for Tiger without the special threat or the really defensive piece.
Yeah. Where do we go from here? My eyes go to Rentoid and the South Yorkshire. It's got good options, but it just feels like it's wasting bits here and there.
In the top 8,
I don't really think I could I would put this much higher than where we are now. Like it's got great power to it. But it feels like it's gonna come up short.
What about Knuckles' team? We had some concerns about Knuckles' hazard control. And also the pressure that Gastrodon has on that team. Rentoid at least has Regen Slow King, and to be able to help combat that, and Wish Pass.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I can see Nalco being at 7 here.
I was gonna say, 'cause for my team, like mine is one of the teams that stacked heavy at the beginning, but I feel like I actually got a decent back, despite them all being low point Pokemon. So yeah, I also which was the other one? What about Houston Comets as well?
Yeah, I think we're starting to get to the point where we're looking at the teams that, you know, are able to punch the biggest holes. And if we're looking at teams that are punching the biggest holes, compared to some of the others that, you know, I don't know how hard this is gonna hit. Like, obviously Palafin, Darkrai, Megaflail are going to absolutely deal damage. But I think this is where I would place it. I think it doesn't quite match some of the higher power levels.
So the teams we have left, we have Rentoid, Voids, B, Gray, Geo, and Terry. Is that all of them? At 6 teams, we have 6 spots left.
Yeah, we got 6
Oh,
spots
Wait, we
left.
still have Terry. Oh, I don't know if I'd
Yeah.
put. Wait, which one did we just place? We placed. We placed Nalco. Yeah.
Knuckles. Do we think Terry's team is better than Knuckles?
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
I mean, the
I'd probably say-
4-mon combination of offense is absolutely bonkers, but it's after that it's Clef and Empoleon, and really nothing else on the team matters that much after that.
I mean, you can't discount the Kyurem too.
But yeah, so it's Spectriate, Garchomp, Gallade, Kyurem, Clef, and Empoleon, and then nothing else really matters after that, right? I mean, maybe Talonflame and Tangela can come some games.
I
Maybe
mean,
Albino.
I can see the maybe Regen Core showing up to more games than I think you're giving it credit for. Those two
don't
do decent.
I mean, you said yourself that you didn't have the most success with it, right? Like, it's decent, but is it going to be enough to win, to support all 4 of the offensive guys?
I mean, I think that, you know, with all of the different options, like, to me, Terry's team seems like a Swiss Army knife. Like, yeah, you've got the, you know, the big hammers that are coming, but, you know, to help get those hammers through, he's got so many options compared to other people, and I can see I can see a world where Terry outmatches Naukle.
Okay.
I feel like I was thinking about Terry's team is 3 of the 4 most expensive Pokemon are weak to Fairy, and not that many great Fairy answers. Might be a little bit rough.
And that's like I honestly I think I would put Terry here.
Okay.
I think that's fair.
'Cause it's an incredibly scary like 4 that he's got there, and that's gonna carry him so much. But in the end, it's only gonna bring him so far.
Yep. Okay, so we have left Rentoid, Voids, B, Gray, and myself. So who do we think is going above Terry?
But Terry,
I think I would place the Houston Comets.
I think this is a decent spot for them. Yeah, I'm just looking at the other options.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be able to place myself any higher than any of these other teams. So yeah.
Yeah, like it has a clear identity. It's got strong. It's solid overall. Hazard control's good. The lower tier picks are good for the point range. You know, you've got offensive, you've got special and physical breakers. Yeah, I think it's a fair spot for it.
It's going to take a little bit to get going with activating Palafin and Clefable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so, and that could be a bit of a momentum sink. But once you get going, it is obviously very strong.
I think that momentum sink's what's going to like lower it down, because like if we look like over at B, like Delphox on its own is still going to be able to like do well with it, you know, with a decent base speed and all that. So like I can see, especially with it getting Levitate. It's like I can see like there's some of them like that you don't really lose the momentum and are having to swap in the Pokemon non-evolved.
Yeah. Delphox and Tornadus really appreciate everything having defog as well.
Yeah.
Great. So what would we rank next at the 4 spot? I don't think we can,
really hard.
This is I would lean Rentoid here, mainly because the lack of recovery outside of Slowking, which is something that we pointed out, and Wish Vaporeon.
Yeah.
Because B does have regen with Torn still, Roost with Scizor, and Delphox also gets Wish, which is something I don't know if we mentioned. Hydreigon gets Roost.
The
I think
milk
there's more
tank does have milk
sustainability.
drink if the milk tank actually is relevant.
Yeah, and that's a big question that we had. And I think the offensive talent on each team is comparable. What do we think?
I think that's fair. I mean, I'm just looking at the other teams compared to mine. Like, mine's obviously got the ground weakness. I'm trying to see if any of the other ones have something similar. In terms of like a big, like a glaring thing that would bring it maybe below mine, but I don't know if I see it.
Yeah, I think this is a good spot to put the South Yorkshire Synesties.
I'm fairly happy with that. I think it's a fair placement. Yeah.
Yep. All right, so we got the top 3 left, and our the coaches we've yet to place are B. Who else? It was B.
Voids
it was
Gray.
Voids and Gray.
I think Voids has to be next now. Because one of the problems that we had was the Malchiyu and Megalopony is very scary. The bottom half of the draft is one of those that the points just kind of exist,
No, I completely agree. I think this is a good spot for that team, yeah, because like I said, Megalopony and Chiyu were going to be absolutely terrifying to everybody.
Yeah.
But it's got some things that are going to hold it back from the other 2 teams that we're looking at here.
Toxic Spikes is going to be a big problem for this one.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, the Swallows really not coming. Yeah.
So then that leaves us with B and Gray taking the number 1 slot, and I'm going to put my hat in for Gray. I think Gray's got it.
You think
I think Gray-
I think every single piece that's in Gray's team here serves the exact point it needs to. I think the team is well balanced, well built. It's got the tools to handle most anything that's going to come at it.
I mean, it's take your pick. So I think B has higher offensive potential, but Gray has higher defensive potential. B's team still does have a lot of fat. Tusk, Torn, and Rotom, and Scizor even are bulky Pokemon, but I don't think they've reached the level of Pecharun and Ferrothorn with the Intimidate. So it's what's your preference? Do you like a more offensive team or a more defensive team?
Defensive and offensive aside, I think what's really the deciding factor here for me with Gray is I can see any one of these 10 Mons coming. Gray's team is consistently I can see these Mons coming any week and doing things. I can't see that with B's team. B's got a lot of Mons that are just, when are you bringing the Comfey? When are you bringing Quillfish?
But at the same time, the one thing I'm looking at is a lot of Pokemon on B's team can do multiple roles, even if you are bringing the same ones. For example, right, Ferrothorn's going to do the same shit every week. Petrun's going to do the same shit every week. Floette's going to spam fairy moves, And you've got some options, you've got some stuff like Serperior and stuff, but you could do multiple things with Rotom, you could do multiple things with, Great Tusk, you could do stuff with Delphox, so that's why my mind's at.
But the point for it for me is in Team Builder. In Team Builder, for your opponent, if you're looking at B's team, Mega Delphox, Tusk, Therian, or Mega Delphox, Tusk, Tornadus, the Rotom Wash. You've already got over half the team figured out essentially.
Yeah, then Scizor off Hydreigon.
But if you look at Gray's team is much more you got to be able to plan for everything. You can't discount any part of this team coming, because if you discount it and it does come, you're going to be in a really bad position. Whereas B is a lot easier to lean into what you need to in order to stop it. I think Gray has it because he's harder to build against. B might
Gray
have more power, but I think Gray has the harder team to beat.
I think that's
Gray also has better hazards. Something with B that I noted was it's kind of awkward to fit Stealth Rock onto the team. And if you're not bringing Quillfish, then you don't really have any. There's no spikes. There's no toxic spikes.
Best you're going to get is maybe like rocks from Tusk, but how many times are you going to want to do that with Tusk?
Yeah, you want to spin with Tusk, and you want Ice Spinner and Knockoff and Headlong. With Gray, like he has Ferrothorn, which can get both hazards. Crocodiles can get hazards. Even like lowered, like Druddigon and Lunatone, if he wants to bring those. So that's another thing to consider. But Gray does not have the sweeping potential. I guess the most he can sweep is probably with Quackable. In terms of like, you know, just winning the game on the spot with B. B can, I guess B doesn't really have that either, does she?
Yeah, B doesn't really have. Yeah, like the biggest like setup is Superior, but
I was thinking Delphox, but we banned Nasty Plot, so yeah.
Yeah.
Calm Mind, yeah.
Calm Mind. It still does have Calm Mind. That is true.
Yeah,
but that's gonna take longer to get going.
Yeah, it's longer.
I think the stealth rock point is enough to tip Gray onto first. I think that makes so much sense. Yeah.
I think I would put Gray number 1 here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. In that case, we've got our all set with our winner being the Blackthorn Crashers with Gray.
Are we happy with our list? Do we feel like we overlooked, or we need to reanalyze any of the placements?
I think a lot of these make sense. Like as we were going through and re-editing, moving around, I think everyone's placed around where I would expect them to be. Like this looks pretty good to me.
Yeah, I'm debating Voids versus B at the minute in my head, because Voids, like, I'm thinking about the point you said earlier where it's like, well, is it obvious which 6 are going to get brought? And it is less obvious on Void's team.
That is true. He does have more options that make sense between the Noivern, the Milotic Screamtail. I mean, the Regieleki we discounted earlier, but it's definitely helpful.
Yeah, and so this is what I'm thinking. I'm saying with mine, it depends what your value as well, because mine's the same as that as well. Like mine, you don't know which 6 I'm necessarily going to bring. So now my brain's going.
But the thing is with Void's team, I think the reason for that is because he has 4 strong, good Pokemon there. But the reason is I don't think he has 2 more that reach the level of what B has. And I think the reason why it's harder to tell is just because the power distribution isn't as well planned or on Void's team.
I mean, the only thing that I think would really like push Voids up over the top is that Sceptile Shedtail. Because that gives a level of protection that B's team really doesn't have. Because being able to get your sweeper, your final mons and your sweepers clean, no chip damage, that's huge.
Yeah, that's true. The top 3, like 4, 3, and 2 are like that's a tough one for me.
I could see the world where we place Voids over B, because they are very, very close in power, in my opinion.
I guess the other thing I'm looking at here is, do we think we're maybe too low on Acid's team? Do we think T. Clark and Melee's team are better than Acid's?
I think
I think so. I think the defensive profile of Thomas's pushes it up more compared to...
Yeah, that Alomomola Ting-Lu is really strong. Even if the offense isn't there, that defensive core is very powerful.
Yeah, like if you put like even a rapid spinner, like let's say that he got Donphan instead of me, like on Acid, then maybe it's a different story.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it struggles with just a bit of it's not built as much as around Goldengo as maybe you'd like, right?
Yeah, like you grabbed the Roaring Wind, you grabbed the Goldengo, but then you didn't like support it as heavily as we probably could have.
Yeah, at that point you want like something like Toxic Spikes, Stealth Rock. Obviously, every team would need Stealth Rock. But...
Okay. Well, it sounds like we're happy with our list then.
Yeah.
Yeah, looks good to me. Like I said, maybe on the day I'd swap some of these around.
And that's what I love about this. It just goes to show how well everybody actually did with their drafts.
Yeah, I don't think any of these teams are bad at all. I think all of them are going to be a nightmare to prep for. So, which is good. That's a good thing.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, you have it. This is the official Season 2 Black Dolphins PR list right here. And remember, these are all just our opinions. If you guys have different or evaluate anything more, please let us know in the comments. Let us know in the Discord. I'd love to hear what you guys think about it. But with that, thank you guys for watching.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody.